Hello and welcome to a new episode of Serpent Temple. This week we are going to be talking to Alastair Riddell of Flamebearer and many bands of yonder years that we will probably discuss as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing more of that, but we're going to do a Psycard reading with you. So I don't know if you know about Psycards.
I don't. Enlighten me.
They're kind of like tarot cards in a way. They're more kind of like Jungian and psychological. So there'll be like archetypal symbols that you will pull. We'll do like a little diamond spread for you. The cards closest to you are your past. The ones in the middle are your present, and the ones further away from you are your future. But at the same time, you don't have to think of it in a literal way. It's just like, what do you think when you see these symbols? So me and Floyd, my co-host, will talk to you as you shuffle the cards and imbue them with your spirit. With your well-denimed spirit.
Yeah, denim spirit, that's what it's all about.
Denim Spirit. That's a good band name, actually.
I'm still waiting for the day somebody takes the cards and does like a proper poker like shuffle from.
Not with the cards that belong to Shem's mum, I hope.
Oh, no, that's a good point. How old are those cards?
There you go.
Before I was born, so nearly 40 years old.
I feel like I'm on Penn and Teller.
Oh my god, yeah. I'm just gonna like draw them out from behind your ears. Like, yes, okay.
See how much weight like one of them lost? Like Penn.
Did he lose those away?
The tall one is like
Penn.
really quite slim now.
Huh.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Okay.
There you
I think one of them was on Wife Swap and it was really messy.
go. I've not seen that.
It's really funny.
I know the D. Snyder wife swap was pretty
What? There's
legendary.
a D. Snyder
Yeah.
Wife Swap? Oh my god. Did
Can't remember who
she
it was with.
take it? Would...
Ah.
Sorry, that was a terrible joke.
I don't think they actually fuck.
No, I'm joking. It was a pun. It was a D. Snyder song based.
Oh,
I have to explain to you that.
I
Okay.
used to work with someone who was on the original UK.
No.
Yes, it was so weird. So it was a nice guy, but he was he was a bit of a male chauvinist, shall we say?
Ah, okay.
And his wife, she was pretty cool, and they did the swap with another family who were kind of Kingston way, who were a bit weird, and they were kind of a bit racist, I think.
Oh, no.
And obviously he was, Black British, so there was a bit of tension there, and they were really lazy. And the kid, the girl was one of those girls that had 7,000 cuddly toys and teddy bears on the bed, kind of thing.
Okay.
And the other mother didn't like that, and it was very, very strange.
That sounds
It was
intense.
weird TV.
Especially then getting to know, and actually his daughter had also worked at the same place at one point, but I don't think she was very impressed with being on TV.
No.
I remember watching one episode. It was like a celebrity one, and there was this really, really sexist. I think he was like a sports commentator. I can't remember what his name was,
I
but
find that hard to believe for sexy sport.
I know I've never
Never,
encountered
no.
one. No, but he was like a really famous one. He was like quite overweight, and he had like a particular voice. I can't remember his name, but he was like, I think he's almost certainly dead now. But he was so sexist, and he started calling like the new wife the same name as the old
You're
wife.
talking about John McCrurrick, I think.
Maybe.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe. But it was horrible. It was horrible in the best way. Okay, let's actually do.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Do it.
Do the Psycards. So I will make you place them, just so I can't Penn and Teller you.
So what?
Excuse me.
How many am I putting down?
So put one. I'll point to them because
Yeah.
I don't want the mic to get all funny. So one there. One there. And then okay.
Have you got the alarms?
Sound the alarm, and then on it. And then one at the top.
You've got even ick alarms than me.
Yeah, I went to reach for that and then realised I've got small arms as well.
I've got weirdly stretchy
And
arms.
do you want these?
Um,
Or do I keep them and
you,
sell
well,
them on eBay?
we'll ask them. We'll ask them back. There you go. All right. So you can turn over the first card. It will be the one below the Inquirer. So if you want to flip that over.
That one there?
That one there, yeah. What is it going to be?
It's going to be...
Money. Nice. So, I mean, I can read you the descriptions that
Yeah.
come with the cards, or you can just be like, what do you think of, like, how does that relate to you musically, personally,
Well,
through
money.
like, yeah.
Means you can buy records. I mean, it's all about priorities, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. I mean, this card usually comes down to like motivations. This is a past thing, so I'm assuming that it's going to be, you know, how money's influenced your path as a musician and stuff like that.
I just spend my money on music, whether it is guitars and band stuff or records. That's the main thing the money goes for. Is, I think, for me, it's the music is the.
So you're a big vinyl collector then, or?
I'm not like stupid amounts of records, but there's a couple of thousand, maybe 3,000. It's not like
only a few thousand records.
Yeah, but I've been buying records for 40 years, so it's not like ridiculous. It's not like I've got a billion. I know plenty of people with
big ones.
10,000. Well, I don't know about that. But yeah, I know people who've got like 10,000 records or whatever. But
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's a bloody pain to move house.
I bet. Oh my god.
I moved house this year, and first time I was like, no, I'm going to spend some money and hire people to do the moving.
That's
Smart.
good.
Because I remember the last time I moved, I couldn't move my arms for like 2 days.
Yeah.
Moving records. There's something about records. They just, I don't know. Maybe it's the music I've bought. It's just so heavy.
Oh, nice, nice.
But yeah, it's you end up not being able to bend your arms for like 2 days. It's like, so right, no, I'm going to hire people to move it. Of course, I moved during lockdown, so IKEA wasn't open,
Oh, fuck that.
and had to get a new Kallax.
Kallax are the perfect size
perfect
vinyl.
size. So I bought
Everyone's
the
got
5x5 one,
Those are good, yeah.
and now I've still got 3 2x2s as well. CDs are going to go in the loft once I've got the loft boards down. So I'll just keep a few hundred out.
Do you have like, do you organize yours with like the cream of the crop? Do you have like a little Kallax cube that's like your most prized
No.
vinyls?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So alphabetical, chronological.
Okay, this is something Floyd is going to be into because he's a
100%.
massive collector.
So it's alphabetical, chronological, and then I've got like classical separate place, compilations separate, and then Maiden. I've got like one, like 2x2 Kallax just for Maiden and related.
Nice.
Wow. And like classical, you mean like Western classical, or do you mean classic metal?
No, classical. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
No, like so
You have Chopin's, your Bach's.
Yeah, Chopin's and Shostakovich and
Nice.
Thomas Tallis.
Tallis,
Oh,
okay.
he's one of my
All right.
favourites.
Do you have like an era you like, a romantic baroque?
I kind of like all kinds of stuff. So but I really like Thomas Tallis. I like that kind of.
He's like, was he Renaissance or is he?
He's Tudor, isn't he?
That's gonna be yeah.
Tudor kind of. So I like stuff like that, but I like all kinds of stuff. A bit of early music, and But yeah, for the most part, it's alphabetical except for a couple of things.
Here's the big question: the word "the" does that count as T, or is it the second word that is alphabeticized?
It's the is incidental because
I consider that incidental as well.
it's an incidental. You don't go the.
Yeah.
And that's just for badly written computer programs.
We're on the same page there.
Yeah.
Nice. I had a friend of mine. His whole vinyl collection melted because he lived in California.
Oh, in a fire or just
Because it was hot.
I know people who've. I mean, I've damaged a few records where I lived before there was a leak, and it was just as I was getting them covered, and like my Danzig all got ruined.
Oh.
It was Danzig and Manowar records, a load of them stuck together. So the records are fine, but the covers them. And then like I think it was the Heresy Concrete Sock split. Yeah, got damaged.
It's genuinely upsetting.
Yeah, I mean I know people who've lost like thousands from a leak and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that puts me off collecting. When it comes to money and being in a band,
Yeah.
do you think about the financial, do you think of a band in terms of it being profitable, or do you focus mostly on just the musical aspect? That's something that interests me with people making music.
Making profit. I mean, to be honest, that's almost delusional these days.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, I know people who make a living from music.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I know who did make money from music were people with professional, so tour managers and lighting people, sound people, and they were all screwed, by COVID. Absolutely destroyed them. I've done a bit of sort of tour managing and roadieing for bands and stuff. So, for music, the gig is the thing. It's nice not to lose money, but the idea of making a living from music is sort of something of another era.
Do you find usually because Lee Dorian and his record
Yeah.
store, for example, or Conan, they have Black Skull Management, or at least
John had a studio, but I don't remember what happened there. So he's
Okay.
doing. I think Chris has moved back to Foal, hasn't he? And I think Lee Rise Above. I don't know how much money it makes. Everyone assumes they make lots of money, but I know from my personal experiences that he put a lot of money into Age of Taurus, and I don't imagine he made that back. Thousands for the recording costs, 1,000 for the artwork and licensing that first cover, and then you've got he paid money for us legal fees so we could get visas to go and play in America. So he put a lot of money in that I don't think he's likely to ever get back.
Yeah.
But he put it in because he's like, I like this band, I want this record out. Some of the records do sell a lot. Ghost, yeah. Uncle Acid, but
Wizard.
Wizard, obviously.
Yeah.
But again, Uncle Acid supported Sabbath, so Rise Above had to help them there. So
that must have been so expensive.
I mean, 20-30 grand, I think it might have been. So he puts his money, he puts his huge money in, and so, I don't, I don't begrudge him if he does make some money on a record, because I know he's coughed up a lot of money on records that didn't sell, but he believed in them, so that's what you should be doing with it. I mean, for me, it's the music. Money from music. Be nice if you can do it, but
that's secondary to you.
Yeah, and it's all changed. There's whole parts of the industry aren't there anymore. Magazines don't sell like they did.
There's no physical Kerrang anymore.
Yeah. Oh no, they've just started doing it again.
Have they?
Yes.
Oh, amazing!
And what's even better is because it's Nick Ruskell's obviously involved
I love
quite
Nick.
a lot.
Yeah.
Love Nick
But
Russell.
Phil
10 out of 10.
Alexander, I think, has been, because he was executive editor. He's been really instrumental. He taking it back to what Kerrang should be.
Amazing.
So if you see the
It's the old
cover,
cover, isn't it?
it's the old logo. It's the classic Crusher kind of mid-80s jagged thing. So it looks. Oh, hold on, that is Kerrang. It doesn't look like some sort of crappy sort of fashion mag or something. It looks like that's Kerrang, and
Amazing.
I mean, the bands covered are different because it's a different era, but the mentality is we're making a heavy rock magazine.
Fantastic.
And that's because it's not metal. It doesn't have to be metal because it's
Heavy
Kerrang's-
music's heavy music.
yeah. It started. There's a fixation on genre, isn't it? Oh, it's got to be this. It's got to be that. But when I first read Kerrang, it was a rock magazine. It wasn't all heavy metal. It was rock. But also there wasn't that delineation. AC/DC, Whitesnake, Rush, ZZ Top, Slayer. Well, actually, before that, Slayer hadn't even sort of made it over here. When I first read Kerrang, it was you'd see ZZ Top and AC/DC and Venom, and that was rock. Heavy metal, rock. It was the same thing. It was just so it'd be nice. It's nice that they're back, but magazines don't sell as much. And people moan about Metal Hammer in a bag with a free thing or whatever, but that's how you
sell it, because a lot of the time now it's kind of like cornflakes in the cereal packets
Yeah.
in the 90s. You would never buy cereal if it didn't have a free toy in it. That was the rules of choosing. So it's the same with magazines. to an
Although
extent.
to be fair, you would shoplift it yourself. You used to go in with your little knife, cut a hole, take the toy.
How did you know?
I used to love collecting and playing with the stuff they used to stick the CDs to. It was just really
Weird,
Free-
gooey
yeah.
yeah, that's cool.
But it's just the industry has changed so much. Records don't sell in a way. Like in terms of vinyl LPs, you look at the top 10 vinyl records of last year, and it's all pop kind of stuff. But it's 300,000 records for Adele.
That's not very much.
But that's the
compared to
thing.
what
Is
it used
where,
to be,
yeah, compared to, you know,
Used to
never
be
mind selling
millions.
1 million in the first couple of months, or you know, Metallica's Black albums would have sold millions on LP, and because people don't, you know, you don't buy CDs, people download, and but they buy the vinyl to have an object, an artifact, don't they?
Now we've got NFTs, so
Yeah.
you don't even have to have the object.
Fucking NFTs, Jesus.
NFTs. I mean, it's tulips, isn't it? It's
Tulipomania from the Dutch.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
interesting
it's
reference.
people,
Yeah.
this is. I mean, do you remember the whole .com boom of 20 odd years ago? It's that. It's like it's worth money. It's worth money. I saw something online. It was like a rapper of some sort, but like not a good rapper, like a popular rapper. so someone who's rubbish. And he apparently stopped the show to show off he'd spent 600,000 on an NFT.
Oh my god.
It's like you're buying memes.
Yeah. It's just
You know,
incredible that you can make
it's-
money on that.
But at some point, someone's going to hold on a second.
This isn't worth anything.
This is worth. I mean, it really is kind of worthless. Also, I think a lot of people are just selling stuff that isn't theirs. Just nick a photo. It's mine now.
Well, you can
It's-
screenshot an NFT,
Yeah.
which is what people have been doing. So
Yeah.
hopefully people will work that out and we won't
got
have to have
older.
NFTs anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see that drama with the voice actor Troy Baker about
No.
the NFTs? So apparently there's something where your voice could become an NFT, so someone
Yeah.
could buy rights, but then they could manipulate your vocal cadences to say whatever you wanted.
People do
So-
that already. They
Yeah.
did that with the Epstein.
So deep fakes crossing over into NFTs.
Pretty much, yeah.
Amazing.
They
Ah,
got a lot of
what a
backlash. for it.
time to be alive.
Isn't it wonderful? Should we go on to the next card?
Let's do it. Which card?
This one.
Oh, I
This
can't
is a
reach it.
future card. Like, what did you get? Did you get death?
The Stranger.
Ooh, the stranger. A tall, dark, handsome stranger is heading towards you. What do you think that could be?
Suspicious.
It could be, like people you meet at shows. It
Oh,
could
I
be.
don't know. What's a strange? I mean,
What's a stranger to you?
a friend I haven't met yet.
Oh, how wholesome.
Wholesome is my middle name.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, actually, it's Lion.
Is it actually?
True story.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. What is a stranger?
Stranger danger.
Stranger Danger. Oh, 1970s. Like the best horror ever made.
I love
Is-
70s horror. Wasn't your mum an actor?
No, that was Will's mum.
That was Will. I'm sorry.
No, the best horror ever made is British information films for kids.
Oh my god, have you seen the one where
Beware Dark Water or whatever it's
there's
called.
an LSD one where she takes acid and she eats a hot dog and it starts screaming. And it's like, it's horrific. It's
Yeah.
so it's like genuinely
Like,
upsetting.
Yeah, the best horror film ever made is that Beware Dark Water. It's about warning kids not to sort of swim in water. I mean, it's just like the atmosphere is incredible. It's
That'd be a sick album then.
yeah.
There was one with matches, right, which showed like the burned person at the end.
Come on,
That was,
the good old days.
and then you had Charlie the cat
Charlie,
as well.
yeah.
Charlie says.
Yeah.
I don't remember Charlie the Cat.
Do you not know the
Prodigy
song?
sampled
Prodigy sampled it. Yeah.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it was their first, not their first song, but it's like their first kind of big hit. Because I don't think What Evil Lurks wasn't a hit, was it? So I just remember that on a rave tape someone did me. So I'm like, but yeah, Charlie Says. Oh, but yeah, fantastic stuff.
That is so creepy. I love how creepy like British things are.
Have you seen that documentary that's on Shudder? That's came
I
out
still
this
need
week?
to install Shudder. All my friends are telling me to get it.
I
'cause
can't remember. It's called Dark Woods or something, and it's a 3-hour long documentary about folk horror.
Oh my god, have
Sounds
you
good.
seen Whistle and I'll Come to You?
It talks about that, and
That is
M.R.
fucking
James.
terrifying.
Yeah, M.R. James. I went to see about 5-6 years ago. Went to see because M.R. James' Ghost Story is a classic Christmas thing, so it would have been about 2016, something like that. A couple of friends went to see a play, and it's the Angel is linked. There's a pub
yeah.
there that does it's like a pub theatre. So there was about 20 seats, and it was, I can't remember which story, but it was an M.R. James one, and it was basically just a guy in a chair telling a story, and it was absolutely incredible. And slowly over time, it got darker and darker, and it was just so atmospheric and powerful. It was amazing.
I get really fucked up by ghost stories. Like,
Yeah.
really
M.R.
badly.
James is fantastic for that stuff. Have you read any of his stuff?
I won't read or watch horror most of the time. The only horror I can ever watch is 70s like Hammer horror films and like old Mario Bava and stuff like that. I can deal with that, but nothing more.
M.R. James, I mean, it's imbued with atmosphere. It's atmospheric. You know,
I love it, but it's just too deeply like I will tell you about my nightmares sometime. They're fucking horrific. So I have a constant horror movie in my head anyway.
So I like old horror. I like
Hammer
horror. And I like that sort of thing. I'm not interested in
modern horror is a little bit too, I think, over the top. Like it's not scary. It's scary in an immediate
jump,
way.
Isn't it? It's
you just jump.
It doesn't have an atmosphere, but it just makes you jump. And I look at it like a lot of modern films, CGI. It's like listening to modern metal that's like trigger drums and a high gain amps of EMGs, like, you know, with photoshopped covers. It's the same thing. It's just like
2 minutes afterwards you've forgotten it. Whereas like M.R. James, like these folk tales, I will never forget the fear of like some of those
and stuff.
stories.
But I really like stuff like Arthur Machen. Have you read any of his
No,
stuff?
I've
So
not
it's
read it.
not like horror. But it's got that atmosphere. It's fantastic, and he, you know, all those that era stuff is amazing. You know, the Great God Pan and the White People and stuff like that.
Blood Ceremony have is it Blood Ceremony? They have
Yeah,
that
Blood
song.
Ceremony, yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
So Blood Ceremony really, I think for me, really has that kind of atmosphere.
I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely people, amazing bands. So you know.
Have you played with them?
Yes, but I sort of know them through. As in, like, when they first came over, they like Will asked me if he could borrow an amp, so they took one of my amps out on tour, and it just so happened on the first date Lizzie's amp blew up, so they were supporting Electric Wizard, and Lizzie's amp died, so they ended up both using my amp.
Was that in like 2013? Because I remember seeing them play Hellfest, and I think it was the same year.
It would have been
Electric Wizard
before
played.
that. It was Electric Wizard, and then I mean, it was back in the noughties. But yeah, no, they're lovely people. Yeah, just really powerful. Like, there's a couple of those kind of bands I've just like Jack Thoth as well.
I love Jack Thoth. I've heard so many good things.
I've seen them a few times. They played Desert Fest and it wasn't great.
I saw them play Desert Fest.
I thought they were really good.
They were. I mean, that was them on like 20% of what they.
Yeah. She was like, she had the incense of the knife. Yeah, it was very vibey.
Played with them a couple of times. Played with them in Germany.
Cool.
Hammer of Doom. And played with them in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin of all places.
Yeah, where they're from. But yeah, it was Age of Taurus. Like the reason we went to America is because a guy called Mike Smith wanted us to play this festival, and it's like we were main support to Trouble.
Nice.
You know, it's about as good as it gets. And Jack Svoff were on the bill, and Orange Ruin, and bands like that. It was amazing.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah, out on tour with Pilgrim. Do you know Pilgrim?
I think, yeah.
They were amazing.
I feel like I might know Pilgrim.
Doom band from.
Singer died.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, that was a weird one. So, kind of, I don't have much experience of like that kind of culture, but he was always wearing long sleeves. He'd always wear a long sleeve t-shirt.
I know where this is going.
And always wearing black, like heavy black jeans. Yeah, and it's like kind of weird because it's like, you know, 35 degrees, 40 degrees, and so, yeah, I think it was like 39, 40 degrees some of the places we went to. He's always wearing a long sleeve shirt, eating cold soup. He's always lovely for that, and really nice guy. Yeah, and it turns out he was on heroin.
Yeah.
He went into rehab, came out of rehab, and his girlfriend, I think, had left him for the drummer or something. It got really horrible. So anyway, he was cleared. The old drummer came back. They got back together. He got himself sorted. They went out on tour. Relapsed. Yeah, he disappeared one night, and
that sucks.
Yeah, and it's horrible because I've not really experienced kind of heroin addicts in the UK sort of doom scene. I'm sure they're there, but it's not like a thing. But like a couple of people I've toured with, yeah. And also like Clyde who was in Sourvein when I played for Sourvein. I don't know if he overdosed or what, but you know, it was like like 3 people from Gates of Slumber. 3 people have died.
What the fuck?
What?
Yeah, both 3. Yeah, so Jason, the bassist, but both Clyde and Bob.
Oh my God.
You know,
That's horrific.
I toured with Clyde. You know, Bob met many times. He actually was doing sound, I think, when we played in Indianapolis. You know, I hadn't seen him for a while. He was there. He was great. Clyde on that same tour. Clyde came to see us in Richmond. Brought like a record and stuff down. You know, and last time I saw both of them, and that's yeah.
Was it them that played with Cathedral at the University of London?
Yes,
Union?
it was. Yes.
Okay, I saw them.
Yeah, fantastic band.
Were you there that night?
Yeah, of course I was.
Of course, yeah. I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah, no, yeah, I was there. Who else was on the bill? Was Church of Misery on that as well?
It was Church of Misery, and then the day after, it was it Bolt Thrower Benediction?
I missed that one. But yeah.
It was like 2 days in a row of like insane metal lineups. Yeah, it was amazing.
I played with Benediction. Like not in them, but like we shared bills with them. Played with them in Shepherd's Bush.
Really?
Back in the day, yeah. At Opera on the Green, which was closed down because it was full of asbestos.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the good old days of dangerous venues.
They were one of the first bands I ever tried to interview, and I was about 17 years old, and they were really rude to me because I was basically a kid, and they were really drunk.
Ah,
Yeah.
right. They were nice. It's weird because the first time I ever got on sort of band thanks list was Benediction's second
that's
album.
cool.
Yeah, because we played with them a couple of times, and thanks list I was like, ooh, interesting. New
That's
thing.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're legit. Is it Frank is in memoriam now, right?
Yeah. I don't know if he was in them at the time? I can't remember because he was in, again,
He was in when I interviewed them.
yeah,
That's
because he
why I
was
remember.
in Cerebral Fix back then,
Okay.
or Cerebral Fix, who had a lot of different members. I think they were that kind of from that scene because Steve from Iron Monkey was in Cerebral Fix at one point as
There's
well.
so many. That's one of those bands where whenever I go on Metal Archives, like 5 people have been
Yeah.
in one of I get you.
Yeah, you kind of get that with certain scenes, like that Nottingham scene. They were just in loads of different hardcore bands together, you know.
Cool. Should we move on to the next card?
Yes, which one? Give me a card, damn it.
This one.
That's too far from me. Ooh.
What'd you get?
Birth.
Birth.
Yeah.
Oh, fertility, creativity, newness.
Flamebearer. Yeah,
There's a
new
birth
band.
right there.
First demo came out last week. Our first gig in a couple of weeks.
And it's a good demo,
Thank
may I
you.
say. Yeah, you're playing the dev soon.
See?
You're playing the dev
Playing
soon.
the dev, yeah. I mean, you know, starting on a high. Yeah, so we've got a new band.
Congratulations.
Thank
You've
you.
got Andrew
you.
Valiant of Oak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Formerly of Oak.
Sorry,
Yeah.
formerly of Oak.
Yeah, they sort of knocked it on the head last year.
Yeah. It's a shame, really. They've been
Yeah.
around for a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we did.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I didn't forget about that. Shit. It's been a long pandemic. No, don't tell
As
this story.
COVID infects your memory.
I have COVID brain, please. It's definitely...
What date is that you're playing the dev?
It is the 6th, so I don't know if this will be out in the times.
I think
On
it
a
will.
like 2 in the afternoon. Yeah, 2 in the afternoon or whatever. We're on like first, so
Nice.
it's our first gig. What else, Birth? So it will coincide with my heavy metal birth.
You were saying it's your anniversary of 1982.
Yes.
Was it that you first listened
Yeah,
to metal?
early February 1982. Tis was.
Tis was.
Tis was. Scientifically proven to be the greatest TV event of all time.
Wow.
Like that's just a fact. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
people talk about The Wire and The Sopranos, like meh, whatever.
Sorry, I love The Wire.
Yeah, but it's okay. But you got Chris Tarrant,
Yeah.
Chris Tarrant.
Yeah, he was...
Lenny Henry,
I love Lenny Henry.
Sally James, God bless her.
Don't know who that is.
Men of a certain age will have a certain thing for her.
Right.
Bob Carroll and Spit the dog. It's like a little puppet dog, and every time you said his name, Spit, he'd go like Spit. I mean, it was ridiculous, but it's like it was kids' TV, but it's kind of totally changed it. So it was like, you know, kids would be put in cages and they'd throw gunge on them and water.
Oh, what was it with Gunge? Until 2001, everything was Gunge.
That was from Tiswas.
Amazing.
They had a character called the Phantom Flan Flinger,
Nice.
who was like in a mask and would put custard pies in people's face. Anyway, so 1982. I just remember saying next week Iron Maiden. I'm like, who? What? That sounds interesting. It was really early because they showed a clip of Run to the Hills video, but it wasn't finished yet.
No way.
And they were talking about an album coming out next month. They're going on tour and stuff, and it was just like, they were on for like 2 minutes. And it's like, changed my life.
Amazing.
And then Maggie Thatcher puts custard pies in their face. Eddie got custard pied by Maggie Thatcher.
What the fuck? I didn't know
They
that.
had someone who dressed up as Maggie Thatcher.
Oh, right. Okay,
It
I was
wasn't
like,
actually her.
actual Thatcher
No,
came on.
No. If it had been her, she would have just shot them.
Chucked him down
Sent
the
in the
coal mine.
SAS. But it was a kids' TV program. Iron Maiden were on it. Motorhead, Crocus, Gillan,
Oh my god, Crocus.
That's wild.
Girl School. Like you'd have like Madness and punk bands. You'd have
That's
like,
fucking wild.
like Robert Plant just turned up one day to hang out. It was that kind of thing. It's like kids' TV with like Motorhead and Iron Maiden on it. It's like.
I love that about the young ones.
Yeah,
Because that's the first time I saw Motorhead was
Yeah.
on the young ones.
And that was, I think, Kids TV would have that on. Tiz was finished. It was replaced by number 73, and Gillan were on that as well. Number 73 was Sandy Tostvig,
Oh, yeah.
and Neil Buchanan.
Oh.
Wow.
Neil Buchanan's in the metal band as well, isn't
Yeah,
he?
Marseille.
That's wild.
So like the first single I ever bought was Gillan, Restless. I still got it.
Nice.
And that had been on Tiswas. So it was like amazing. Like, yeah, but I can't remember if it's that. So, yeah, my brother, I remember listening to it and pointing out that it's the same. Gillan Restless had the same riff as Plastic Bomb by Poison Idea. I don't know if that was deliberate, but you go, oh well, yeah.
That's wild.
When Napalm on Tiswas, or have I just
No,
created that in my
they're
brain?
later. I mean, well, Napalm started like 81 or 82, but they were on a kids' TV show called What's That Noise with.
Oh, okay.
And obviously, they were supposed to be on Red Dwarf, but they couldn't do it, so you ended up with
Carcass.
Carcass. Well,
Yeah.
Jeff and Bill just
Yeah.
doing.
Oh shit! Wow, no.
No, because Ken was a major part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And still is a part of it.
No,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, Napalm Death.
Faux pas.
Oh, that was a great era for TV because there was like a thing called Snub TV,
Yeah.
which is an amazing kind of music program that started 88, 89. So you'd have like Napalm Death on it, and you'd have Spacemen 3, and then you'd have like, Pixies and stuff, and then underground hip hop and stuff. And it was this amazing time for TV. And then they said, no, we don't know, we'll just put Jules Holland on.
You mentioned John Peel a bit when we were
Yeah.
off air as well. Just like, what an influential DJ for like bringing
For me, though,
Yeah.
it was Tommy Vance was the real
Tommy
influence.
Vance. Of course,
Yeah. So 1982, like he was up way past my bedtime, put the radio on, and what the hell's this? And he goes, and that was a new single. It was a White Snake, Here I Go Again, the proper version, not the crappy Americanized one. But it was like, what the hell's this? And then Tommy Vance, and I discovered the Friday Rock Show.
Yeah.
And it's like 2 hours of rock and metal at like 10 o'clock on a Friday, which
Tommy Vance did a rock and metal show.
oh, he was
He's got
the
a sick voice.
Yeah.
He's so cool.
you saw him on Top of the Pops and go, that can't be the same guy, because he just sounded like he should have this the beard the size of Bristol, he's just be like but yeah, it was his amazing show, and I remember listening to it and like trying to stay awake till the end. That was always the thing, because 9 years old, it's like difficult to stay up till midnight. But it's a Friday, so it didn't matter because you have school next day. And they had like a little really crap cheap radio, like they used to do these radios that looked like Coke cans.
Oh my god! Did
So-
you do the thing where you'd put your fingers on the antennae and then it would like have better
Yeah.
clarity? Yeah.
But I'd just listen in the dark in bed, and I remember listening to the broadcast of the Iron Maiden set from Reading Festival '82, and it's incredible. And yeah, you'd listen to that, and they, the Friday Rock Show demo, like the sessions they did were like the kind of, for a lot of new wave of British everyone bands, that was their pinnacle, because it just sounded so good. you know, so you'd listen to that and you'd hear stuff on there all the time. So that was a big thing. John Peel, I kind of listened to, but not as much, because John Peel was on Monday to Thursday, and then Friday it was Tommy Vance, and so later on, as I could stay up later, you'd listen to that, and it was great because you'd listen to it, and there'd be like a load of jangly indie, there'd be some like amazing sort of, you know, Bundu Boys and bands like that at the time, you know, kind of, and then, you know, you'd hear that, and then all of a sudden it's like Bolt Thrower or you know, Napalm Death, and it was weird how big Napalm Death were at that time. And Enslavement is just absolute life changer as well. It was, that was like a real thing. So I mean, I was a thrash kid by then, you know.
Do you prefer Enslavement to Scum? Because I always preferred Enslavement to Scum. Yeah,
Scum's good, but Enslavement, because it's, I think, had that, it's like a solid piece of work. Obviously Scum's two different bands almost, isn't it? And it was, so a friend of mine at school, kid Andrew, was like, you know, into skateboarding, I say is still, you know, he's into skateboarding and BMX and stuff, and he did him a tape, and it was like The Stupids and Napalm Death, like 1988, and then he actually gave me his original copy of the album, and it was just, because I was into thrash, I was, you know, I'd heard, you know, discovered Metallica and all that stuff, and then he's, what the hell's this? And that kind of opened up that whole death metal world. You know, it's like, well, there's Napalm Death, and then there's Bolt Thrower and Carcass and Death, and, you know, and then Morbid Angel and Autopsy and all that stuff. Paradise Lost. That was a huge thing.
How did you get into the 70s stuff?
So, I mean, I grew up. So 1982, the first time I got into metal, and a friend of my mum's, you got to check this out, and he gave me a tape, and it scared the life out of me. I hated it. I couldn't listen to it. It was so terrifying. It was Black Sabbath, the song. It just, it was like, do you know what I mean? It was a horror film. You know what I mean? You just, everything about that song is just totally overpowering, and it was like, I hated it. But then, so I got into metal, and this guy Stephen, who lived around the corner, some of you may know. So he brought over Kiss, Love Gun, and then I bought a compilation called what was it called now? There was a couple, and there was this compilation. Was it Precious Metal or Trauma? There was a couple of compilations I got, and this compilation, it started off, and it was like a total life, like, you know, one of those records that shapes your taste, and it had like Wishbone Ash on it,
Nice.
Budgie, Lynyrd Skynyrd,
Amazing.
Gary Moore. I think there was a Gillan song on it, so it was like, you know, that was, and then later on, getting into the more obscure stuff. So, you know, like the first Cathedral album, for example, had that song listing on the back. And it, like, you know, so you've got this lyrics, and then it's like Gaz had put together a list of like bands, you know, it's like Fuzzy Duck and Aardvark and all these like bizarre names. What the hell's that? And then by that time, you know, kind of through the tape trading scene, so Joss Oborn would send me tapes, and he sent me this tape, and it had like May Blitz, Buffalo, Bang, Night Sun. You know, a load of stuff like that. Sweet, and I think that can't be Sweet. It's so heavy. It was the song Burning. I don't know if you know that one.
Yeah. I just know the like Ballroom Blitz.
Well, here's the thing with Sweet. It's like everyone knows their singles. The singles were written by someone else, and they're kind of okay.
Yeah.
Their own material, absolute dynamite. I mean, it's incredible.
Do you know what? That's so crazy, because my dad was always a fan of Sweet.
Yeah.
And I could never understand why, because I'd only know Ballroom Blitz.
You listen to like Ballroom Blitz and go, that's cute, whatever. Yeah. And then you put on Burning, and it's like, oh, this is a bit, it's like, it's sinister. It's, you know, it's like, sounds like a serial killer. Yeah. So their own stuff was so much better than the hits. It's like, but it's really heavy. So yeah, I started through that, and you know, so you start kind of getting stuff traded. Like someone tapes me, you know, you get a tape from Will. I think Will got a tape from Lee or someone, and it was like, you know, Pentagram stuff from the 70s. Yeah. You know, because like Cathedral obviously covered For All Your Sins, like on the first demo. So all Pentagram. So, you know, and back then you could pick up Pentagram. So I've got like a I ended up with a copy of the second album, like an original press, for like £2. And then obviously Peacefield signed them, so they put out both albums. As was then. So I ended up getting a white label of Relentless for like £2 as well. Because you just you'd go in the shops and find them, people didn't know this stuff. Trouble was a big one. So some friends at school would go, "You've got to check out Trouble. You've got to check out Trouble." And then through that, because you're listening, so like by 1990, you're listening like the doomier death metal. So like, a lot of death metal was like really fast, tappy stuff, but then like Paradise Lost was slow and heavy. Autopsy had these really slow bits, and so from that, and that a lot of the UK bands had a sort of slow, heavy aspect to them. I think because back then people just wanted heavy. There was some people who had it's got to be this genre, but there was a lot of the underground that just wanted heavy. It didn't matter if it was hardcore metal, didn't matter if it was Melvins or St. Vitus or Bolt Thrower. As long as it was heavy, it was heavy. I started getting through the 70s stuff through that, and so you start looking for the, and the newer bands that had that vibe, whether it was like Masters Reality or, Monster Magnet. I remember like hearing Medicine. Someone played me the video for Medicine as well. So you get that first full Monster Magnet album, and it's got a Grand Funk cover, and you go, I know the name Grand Funk, but I've never really checked them out because the name Funk had put me off.
Yeah.
Picked up a compilation and go, oh my God, it's like the best bass sound ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And through that, you just start, and because there was a scene of us all kind of in contact. So, like, we knew Just and from, Thy Grief Eternal as it was then, and Lord of Putrid Action. Yeah, we knew the guys from Acrimony. We knew, by 92 we'd met Solstice and, bands like that. So we sort of knew a few bands. So you'd trade tapes and stuff. Although with Solstice, obviously they had that kind of also had roots in sort of hardcore. So we knew who Rich Walker was because he was Richard Militia from Sore Throat, and we started talking. So there was a little scene where you'd hear each, and there was a guy called Russ. Well, there was still a guy called Russ Smith. And so every thrash gig and stuff you'd see, he'd be there. And he is like, before Metal Archives, there was Russ. And in fact, he's better because he's got it all, and he would tape us stuff. He'd tell us about stuff, Wow. I think the only reason anyone knows who Pagan Alt is because he told everyone. He was like, he was the guy, he was the guy that had everything. He had like all the Friday Rock Show stuff. He was the guy that you went to find out about metal.
That's fine.
And still is. He's like every time
He's
I see
still
him.
around?
Yeah, and he's like,
Nice.
He's really active on that Heavy Belters Facebook group, if you know that.
I do not.
Him and Kiss Mark.
I will be checking that out.
Yeah, it's a brilliant one. I think you find out a lot of stuff through. Or you do the old kind of read the record label. Like you get the record and you're like, look at the thanks list.
That was my thing. I would always check the thanks list just to see which bands they would name drop.
Yeah. And also the T-shirts.
Yeah.
You'd look at back then. You'd look at the T-shirts. Right, I'm going to check that band out.
I've done that. I've seen someone with a cool T-shirt.
I specifically remember. I might be getting it wrong, but I'm pretty sure on the Suffocation Effigy of the Forgotten, I think Mike Smith is wearing an Atheist shirt, and I didn't realise what the logo was saying. I was trying to work it out, but then I figured out. I think that says Atheist, and I decided to check him out. I was like, "Wow, this band's amazing."
That's one of the first Atheist album is one of my favourite records of all time.
It's so good.
Yeah,
so good.
So good.
I mean, I still listen to it. I mean, it's one of the ones I bought a vinyl at the time. I bought a CD, and then I bought another CD reissue later on.
Yeah.
I think they're so underrated. Anyway, should we go on to the next card?
This one. The Home.
The Home. Oh, so you just moved house.
I have, yes. Finally bought a place with a garden.
Your Kallax.
You've got my Kallax out. I've got a bomb shelter.
You got a bomb shelter.
I have.
Wow.
Yes. I went to look at the place and there's a weird stone structure and it's an above ground bomb shelter that you can't get rid of.
You could use it as a rehearsal space.
It's too small for that. I mean, it's tiny. It's like a family could stand in it, but I think it was built just as like an emergency run. But yeah, I've got a bomb shelter.
Or if there is a nuke on London, you're sorted.
When?
When? That's true. It's true.
Yeah, so I bought a place. I have a bomb shelter. I have a loft.
Loft.
You know, it's a storage.
That is really nice.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
These days, that is a
Yeah.
rarity.
So so that's home now, and it's weird because it is actually back in Isleworth. So
Nice.
I moved back to Isleworth where I'd grown up, where I
Yeah.
met Steve
Yeah.
with the striker and the Kiss record.
They're brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that's probably summing up home.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's right by the river, so I feel like London is most London when it's by the Thames. So
Yeah.
it's not that central, but it's by the Thames, so
It can be very brutal.
yeah.
I've not
So-
been to Isleworth actually.
It's got some nice parts to it.
Yeah.
This is the story that always amazes me. So we moved there in 1980, and I sort of got into metal about 82, and a friend of my mum's going, "Oh, Iron Maiden live near here." Like, I'm like, they don't. Didn't think anything more of it. Then sort of late 80s, walking home from school nearby, and the guy drives past in a Jeep. That's weird. He's a very distinctive bald guy with a massive beard. And I was like, I'm sure that's John McCoy from Gillan. So a few years later, many years later on Facebook, I sort of friend him and I actually asked him, "Did I see you in a Jeep in Isleworth?" He said, "Yes." So here's the thing: about 3 years ago, I saw a little clip extract from Joe Elliott's autobiography. So when we moved, 1980, when I moved to Isleworth, Joe Elliott moved 200 metres away from me, round the corner, in a flat next to Bernie Tormé from Gillan's place. So I lived round the corner from Bernie Tormé, guitarist of one of my favourite bands, and never saw him, never knew that. And Joe Elliott.
That is
That's
wild.
less impressive, but it was like literally around the corner. Like,
That is so wild.
That's wild.
but that's Isleworth for you. That's it. All the cool kids lived there.
Is it Joe Elliott from Def Leppard?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
I'm doing a tactical
He's just-
Google there.
For the listeners.
Thank you. Thank
Everyone
you.
knows who Joe Elliott is. Are you that engrossed in
Yeah,
certain scene you don't know?
I literally have no idea.
I didn't know who it was. I just knew it was someone important.
Yeah, I assume that singer in one of the biggest rock bands of all time.
Oh, he's a singer. Okay.
Yeah. It's not Phil Collins. He's the guitarist, or
Yeah.
actually, there's a few
Phil
guitarists.
Collins, like unnaturally jacked. Isn't
No, yeah. Or I think he's a martial artist guy. Didn't he knock out Danzig? Apparently, there's a story.
What?
No, that's one. There's another one. He had a fight with Danzig apparently at a festival in the early
Danzig
90s.
seems so fiery.
Yeah,
He's quite short though, isn't he? Danzig, I think.
yeah. I don't think Phil Collins that big though.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, he's jacked, but he's
Yeah.
not like he's 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
I'd love like a heavy metal musician pro wrestling event. That would be really fun. I want to see Danzig take out like Manowar or something.
Well, he wanted to be a professional wrestler.
that
Danzig.
makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. He's got he is unnaturally jacked. He's got like a very normal head.
Do you
Yeah,
think
he's got a
Manowar
normal
fight
head.
much? Though? I think they're a bit old for fighting now.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
and they didn't turn up when Twisty's sister offered them out. Apparently,
Really?
apparently there was always a real beef between. I don't know if it was to do with the Dictators, because obviously, I think Ross the Boss was in the Dictators, and one of Twisty's sister was in the Dictators. But anyway, there seemed to, according to Kerrang, when I was a kid, there was a real thing between the two, and they didn't turn up to fight Twisty's sister. Apparently, I don't know if that's true.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty small of Manowar. Who?
Yeah, Dee Snider's a pretty scary looking guy.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, he's a
He
big
is
jack
really
guy.
big.
And I think,
Yeah,
really
he's-
athletic.
I think they were pretty kind of rough kids. I mean, in that DVD, they said that when they had their reunion, one of them turned up with a gun.
Oh shit! Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, it was like when they had their first meeting.
Just
I think they had beef.
that's fucking terrifying.
Gangster metal, wasn't it?
Gangster metal. That's
A
brilliant.
real gang smell, unlike what they called again. Is it King 810? You know.
Oh, were they not real gangsters?
Do you know? I think they might be. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, it's a weird one. It's like, the image, and it's like, who's the hardest band in Britain? And you'd be like, well, it's probably the Beautiful South. Axe murdering, would be axe. He tried to kill someone with an axe, the drummer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was
It's always the drummer.
Yeah, there's one of the drummers, and obviously Paul Eaton, who's in Beautiful South. Apparently, is an absolute psychopath,
Bloody hell.
like a full-on football hooligan. So
Fuck my life.
It's because you listen to the music. And
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Just like,
yeah,
Yeah, I think the metal guys usually like the softies.
yeah.
Most of the
Except for
time.
the guy from Cannibal Corpse who I have guns in my house for murder. And, he went, and what was it? It was something about a house full of skulls or something.
He had human skulls in his house.
and
yeah.
guns,
Yeah.
possibly for murder.
They had a lot
Pat
of
O'Brien,
guns.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
I mean, how many
amazing.
guns do you need as a death metal?
You've got some
guitarist?
support, like backup guns, in case one of your other guns
Yeah.
doesn't work. I don't know. It was...
Although it would be cool if you also had like a room full of like kind of people training. You know, like you open a door and there's like a load of people
There's like
practicing
Iranians,
combat. Yeah,
like-
just. I mean, who doesn't want a house full of like machine guns and grenades and?
I don't really, because if you have like a fire, then you're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, it could go wrong, but you know, I mean,
Or gas
obviously,
leak.
ideally, it would be laser guns. I mean, that's what you really want.
Oh, the house is just a laser tag course.
No, real laser. Like, I mean, I want
Oh,
like proper laser
Like
blasters. Like,
Dune, like burning through flesh.
yeah, you know, I
Nice.
grew up with Star Wars. Of course, I want that. I
I
mean-
think I'd rather have a tricorder. So if I have like a headache, I know I'm not going to have like a
that's
blood
good,
clot or
but
something.
Although Star Trek apparently is a red flag.
What?
It's a really bad red flag. Star Trek box sets and a tiger poster is like immediate
Oh my god.
police raid.
I'm done.
You're Star Trek, I'm the tiger poster.
Yeah, together.
Apparently, it's something that police look at.
Are you for real?
Yes, absolutely.
Red
This,
flag for what?
For being a nerd?
Just,
no, like as in search the hard drive.
Oh,
Apparently,
that makes
yeah.
sense actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so someone,
I mean, it
someone
depends
was
on the
telling me about
series. If is it original series?
I don't know. I haven't looked that deeply into it.
Yeah.
But apparently, there's some weird thing that there's a real correlation between excessive Star Trek box sets, tigers.
Damn.
I've got to do some serious soul searching after this.
there's some serious eBay in you mean?
But where do you stand on Star Trek?
I
Is it?
fucking love it. It's better
Yeah,
than
but-
Star Wars. I
but-
will fight you.
I mean, that's just nonsense, obviously.
Uh,
But
it's gonna be a twisted sister situation.
Luckily, you need a bit of gun.
but next generation or classic?
Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine. That's the true nerd's choice, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's good.
Yeah, I love TNG over original series. I don't like original series that much, to be honest.
So you're not a real Star Trek fan, are you?
Oh, those are fighting words! Oh no, this is. Ooh.
What do you think of the new Star Wars films?
I mean, is that even a real question?
I mean, yeah, they're fun to go and watch once.
They're like The Hobbit.
I hated them.
But I'm. See,
thought they were okay.
I'm a purist. There's no such film as A New Hope. It's called Star Wars. If you're calling it A New Hope, you're not a real Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're not a proper fan. That's like a new school thing.
My favourite Star Wars film is Rogue One because everyone dies.
I mean, that's something to look forward to, isn't it?
I
Hasn't
thought
the
it was-
Mandalorian somewhat redeemed the franchise a
It's
little bit?
okay. I didn't like the product placement of Baby Yoda, whatever it is called. I don't know. The green
It's not
thing.
actually called Baby Yoda,
It's
though,
called
is it?
Grogu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Grogu.
But that's just internet nonsense, isn't it, mostly? But, you know, it's fun.
Did you guys see when? Sorry, I'm not supposed to
Yeah.
talk. I'm completely bombing it this episode. Did you see when Gorguts shared a picture of Baby Yoda on their page, and it had Grogu written in the Gorguts font?
That's actually
That
pretty
was-
cool.
That's kind
That
of
was
cool.
such a weird day. I was like, why is Luke LeMay posting this? You know, it was him going, look, guys.
That's
So
cool.
that's death metal for you. They're not all house full of guns. It's
It's just Canadians. Like, I love that. Yeah.
okay.
I'm just imagining like a kind Canadian polite man being like, "Oh, I think Star Wars is great." I don't know. Or should we go on?
The Sage.
Oh,
Is there an
wisdom.
onion card.
We ate that one earlier.
That
The
explains
sage.
that.
This is kind of like wisdom, like staying inside,
Yeah.
the sort of introvert
Okay.
within you. Like how I'd say like you're always everywhere, and like everywhere. Every time I go to a show, you're there. However, you are also
That's
there
because
is.
I'm stalking you. You know that, right?
I didn't, but I'm actually quite flattered.
Yeah, I arrange it with Shem. It's fine.
Oh, it's consensual. Anyway, but yeah, the sage is like there's also like an introversion to you as well. Like there's clearly like a still waters run deep kind of guy, standing in the front row of the cathedral concert if he's not on stage. Like, yeah.
Oh, there's a video of me. Well, it's not of me, but I'm in a video. There's some posted a video, and it's a Carcass Cathedral at the Marquee. So that's like 91 or 92, and I'm watching it. I was like, I recognise that T-shirt.
That's you.
Yeah, and it's they're very different looking. I was like,
Wow.
sort of no beard.
No beard.
That's how long ago it was.
Good lord, I can't imagine that. I
Yeah.
just assumed that you were
Born with a beard.
Born with a beard. Yeah.
Did you have a period where it was just the bottom beard and no like moustache?
Briefly, yeah. So I kind of, I stopped shaving just because it was a pain, basically. Like I'd kind of changed jobs and I was allowed to have a beard. I was young, so I was like, oh, I can just stop shaving. And that's like 94, 95, something like that. So it's just like, oh, easy. But yeah, I'll see what, you know, I tried that, had a chin strap for a week or two. I did shave my beard off at some point because there's a photo of me without a beard and it's sort of late 90s. So I'd like shaved it off for a few weeks or something. And then, well, actually, don't like this. So I tried different things and then I realised the easiest thing to do was just not shave. And then that's the secret to growing a beard. Like people don't seem to realise the secret is not to cut it off all the time.
I was going to ask you what your secret is.
That and Marmite.
Marmite.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Marmite and beard mask.
No, just eat Marmite. I mean, it's full of vitamin B12 and stuff, isn't it?
Oh, okay, cool.
And you know what they say about Marmite.
You can eat it.
Yeah. Well, that's right. They say you either love it or you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
I know. You know what? I actually don't. I don't have a strong opinion about Marmite. I don't love it or hate it. I think it smells nice.
I prefer Vegemite, but I like Marmite.
I've not had Vegemite.
Vegemite is a lesser.
A lesser cousin.
It's a lesser Australian version.
The lesser
Although
spotted.
South African Marmite
Yeah.
tastes like Vegemite.
Oh, no way.
That's weird.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
I only discovered that when I went to South Africa.
What about Bovril?
That's a
Bubbles
drink,
is gravy,
isn't
isn't it?
Is that gravy you drink?
Yeah, it's beef. But it is basically it's beef stock, but really concentrated.
But you have it as like.
Yeah, you can drink it, but it's also it's.
I would drink gravy.
Put it on toast. You can make it into.
What? That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I love gravy.
And they do a chicken one and it's made out of burnt feathers.
What the fuck?
It's sick. It's really good.
No,
It's
no.
really
But yeah, no. Bovril's just basically a concentrated gravy. It's like just gravy.
That sounds really good.
So if you like beef, if you don't like beef, that's no good to you.
I like gravy.
There you go.
It's just-
Everyone has gravy of some sort. You can get vegan oxo cubes, so
I have those. They're nice. Yeah, I do.
you
like
can
a good
have
oxo
gravy
cube.
and be vegan.
There you go. You can have it both ways.
There you go.
You can have your gravy and be
What
vegan.
a time to be alive.
It's brilliant. Shall we go on to
The
the
sage.
sage and onion gravy? This is your next one. The stars. Oh, your future contains
Yeah.
stardom. Well, you are often travelling around. You are navigating the globe. Do
I
you
am.
have any future globe navigation plans?
I need to get a new passport.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's going to be blue as well.
Well, oh, hooray, blue passports. That's what we really need.
We're in so much control right
Yeah.
now.
I don't know. I hope so. I mean, I haven't travelled for a couple of years. Haven't played abroad for a while, so it'd be nice. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how easy or possible it's going to be now.
Do you have any spots you want to go to that you haven't?
I'd love to see more. I've never been to LA.
You've not been to LA?
Never been to LA, so it'd be
Oh my
nice. I don't know if
gosh.
it's worth playing there anymore. I don't know, but it'd be nice to get over there. Yeah, I mean, I like America. It's nice. It's you wouldn't want to live there because they,
You'd fall over and then you'd have a £30,000
yeah.
bill.
And also the chocolate isn't as good.
Oh, it fucking sucks. The food in
That's
America
dreadful,
is
yeah,
not
the milk
good.
and
Well,
chocolate.
it's American food is weird in that some of it's amazing,
But
some
most of it's
terrible.
not good. No
Yeah,
offense.
well, I know, like statistics. I mean, like in terms of like hard sort of data, it's 10 times worse.
Is it actually?
Yeah, if you could look at the figures for food poisoning percentages.
Oh, because of the chlorinated chicken.
Well, there's all kinds of things, but
Yeah, the food
there's
standards
so
are terrible.
but you get a good burger, it's incredible. I think America's full of like the worst kind of pre-packaged kind of stuff.
Even the
but then,
cheese is bad.
yeah, but well, here's the thing with cheese is there's a lot of very good cheese, but because of import duties, it's so expensive that you just don't get it here. So there's bad cheese and there's really good stuff in America. America's got, we went to sort of little diners and stuff that were amazing. We also went to IHOPs, which aren't so good, but International House of Pancakes.
Strange word.
It's International House of Pancakes. So it's a pancake
Oh,
place.
I thought it was like eyeball hops.
No, yeah. It's nice, you want a breakfast, pancakes is good.
Okay.
We also went to a Cracker Barrel a couple of times.
What do they serve? I mean,
It's kind of like southern, so it's like biscuits and gravy, which are
Is that chips and gravy?
no biscuits and gravy.
What is it actually? What is biscuits and
A
gravy?
biscuit, as far as I can tell, is like a scone with no flavour, and gravy is not gravy.
What?
It's some sort of weird sausage meat
What
that's
the
white or
fuck?
something. I don't know. It's very strange.
Oh.
But it's like it's a chain of sort of southern food, but it's a chain. But you go in and they got like a shop selling Harley Davidson t-shirts and blankets
Sounds
and
quite
weird
nice,
stuff. Yeah,
actually.
it's very strange, but
I thought it'd be like poutine.
no. I mean, obviously there's service stations and there's service stations, so there's T-Bay and then there's just everything else.
France has good service stations.
I didn't find them very good.
Really?
Yeah, the
I
ones
like
I've
them.
seen. But T-Bay is the one.
Okay.
Do you know T-Bay services? It's like ask anyone who's travelled a lot, and they'll tell you T-Bay is a different level. It's like a farm shop and cafe.
Oh.
Yeah, so
very
it's
nice.
independently owned, so it's just like, it's a different level.
I will go and check some out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and specifically. Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be nice just to go somewhere. I haven't flown for a few years.
Yeah.
My passport expired during the lockdown. It's like.
It's a pain in the ass to renew as well.
Especially as it expired just as I was trying to sort out buying stuff, the house. And stuff.
Oh
It was
no,
like-
you the ID. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh mate.
and I had a real nightmare with that.
Stamp duty?
No, it was just under there. So
Because it was a
First-
deadline. Cause
no,
I
it
moved
was
as well.
it was that it was to do with sorting out probate for my mum's will,
Oh.
and the fact that my passport, my birth certificate, the will, and my NHS records all had different spellings of my name.
Oh no!
nightmare.
That happened with my mum because she's got a crazy name.
Yeah.
And like no one can spell her name right, so she had like 3 different forms of
Yeah.
ID with no. Oh, you poor thing.
So I had to.
Redo everything.
Well, had to get.
Is it the Alastair and the Alastair?
It wasn't that. It's the middle names. Kieran is one of my middle names. Is
so
Kieran.
there's the I and the E the wrong way around.
And like, there's one with an A, one with a Y, one with a
With a Y.
yeah, R-Y. Yeah, so my
It's
passport
K-A-Y.
is R-Y-N. It was the between the R and the N. There
Yeah,
was like,
Aryan Kieran.
all kinds of things. So.
Wow.
I mean, my first name gets misspelled all the time anyway. Like, when people are responding to emails that have my name in the email and a signature,
Oh dear.
they'll still spell it wrong.
Oh, dude.
Or on Facebook, and it's
How do people do that?
That's crazy. I don't know how it happens so often. It's such a phenomenon.
It's in front of you.
It's about people that would call me Lloyd, and I'm like,
Lloyd!
it's like
You're
they've just.
not a Lloyd, you're clearly a Floyd.
It's like they've just decided that Floyd. I don't like that name. I'm going to call him Lloyd instead.
I get called Nina.
Nina.
I get called, they get my last name right, but they call me Nina.
because Nina's such a difficult name.
It's so foreign, it's exotic as hell.
You're so exotic.
I am so exotic.
So exotic.
Yeah.
Fluffy jumpers, hair for weeks, not even for days, for weeks.
Weeks, occasionally a month,
Yeah.
if you're lucky. Yeah. Anyway,
Should we do another card?
let's do another card. Let's do your present. Let's do this
Oh,
card.
you're
here.
getting me a present. That's not.
Oh, I'm the present.
The scales.
The scales. Oh,
Ooh.
justice. Justice, righteousness. There's a lot of sort of judgment and like shit
Can I
throwing.
judge people for being false metal? Is that?
If you wish.
Always.
Oh, wait.
What do you think of that? Like, at the moment, there's definitely a lot of this is a controversial topic. The controversy of controversy, I suppose.
Are you talking about Boris?
Just cancellations and I don't know if people call it cancel. I don't know. That's what I think.
cancel culture.
culture. I think of that as the scales. People
Cancel culture is a weird one in that everyone's it's a new thing. It's not. It's
It's
been going
not,
on
yeah.
for decades, but it's always been a right wing thing.
Yeah.
Christians, cancelling people. It's weird because people go, "Oh, you can't say anything now." People are so offended these days.
You can't say you're racist these days.
You can't even be racist anymore.
That's it. They throw you in
Can't
jail.
even, you know what I mean? You can't even invade the Sudetenland without being called a Nazi.
I can't say any racist words without being called a racist.
It's weird because everyone's like, "Oh, you can't say anything." Everyone's offended now. It's like, hold on.
When was the time and date?
When were people not offended?
Yeah.
When you couldn't swear on TV, so people were offended by swearing. There was a time when
Game of Thrones would not have been allowed like 20 years ago.
No, exactly. The ending shouldn't have been allowed, but
The whole fucking last season.
the last episode should. But it's this weird thing. Everyone, people it's just they're offended by different things.
Some people are offended by the act of being offended.
Yeah, but
I'll always remember how the furore around that Brass Eye episode about the paedophiles.
Oh.
And it was just like...
But it was hilarious because obviously the people are getting offended didn't realise that they were the butt of the joke anyway. We're talking about you just haven't got it. But do you remember how offended the whole world was apparently when the Sex Pistols were on the Bill Grundy show and he swore?
Yeah.
And that was offended. So people were offended by different things.
Billy Connolly, when he went on What's His Face, and he made the joke about the bikes and the bums. That was an amazing joke.
Yeah. And he was worried it was. But people were offended by different things. Once upon a time, people were offended by people who were being different colour.
They're still offended by that.
Yeah, but oh, you can't say anything. It's like, well, back then they said things. They were offended by different things. It's times are changing. People were offended by women having children out of wedlock. Yeah. So people have always been offended by things. It's just maybe people are trying to be better people.
Shock horror.
I know, it shouldn't be allowed.
How dare we try?
Yeah.
But I'm glad you have that most wholesome take.
I am so wholesome. I'm like, honestly, I'm probably the most wholesome person ever.
We could slice you up and serve you with some tea.
Exactly.
They call you the Reverend, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I don't use that name. So that was a silly name, but it was funny. So it was Evil Knievel was a band I was in. It was like me and Seamus from Blood Iron Raiders. Like Seamus, who's in like loads of punk bands now. But we had this band called Evil Knievel, and it was just like originally it was going to be Professor Al, but then it was like Reverend because like Billy Gibbons is the Reverend Billy Gibbons. So it was like I'm going to be the Reverend because that's just silly and fun. And then early days of internet, you could get yourself ordained online, couldn't you? So.
Oh my God! No way.
Well, I think technically I was at that then. I don't.
Do you think it might have expired?
I probably need to redo the test.
You have to do a test. It's like a little referend exam. That's amazing.
I say test. I think you just have to just click on the right thing, which is kind of a test, isn't it? So it was just like it was a name. It was like funny. It was like it amused me. That was the important thing.
That's brilliant.
And we were kind of stoner rock, but we didn't sound like a stoner rock band. So we didn't have like fuzzy pedals, or whatever. It was like the singer was really into like kind of southern rock and country as well as so cowboy hat and stuff. So we were a bit sort of Danzig meets Lynyrd Skynyrd via Trouble or something. It was a bit of a weird mix, but it was.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound cool. And you have a song called Dark Throne.
That was Blood Iron Raiders. That was complete.
Fuck.
Yes. So there's been like 3 million bands. Remember? So.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not very good at remembering things.
I know. It's all before you were born.
It's true.
I'm like 70,000 years old.
No, you're not. I'm just very young, I think. I don't know anymore. Well, should we go to the next card?
Yes, let's go to
another
the...
presents card. This one here.
This one here.
What is that one?
The message.
The message. There's every single person who comes on this podcast always gets the message because it's literally music is the message. So, I mean, what is your message?
My message is heavy metal or no metal at all. Wimps and posers, get up, leave the hall.
Nice, nice reference.
To quote the wise sage.
Man of War.
Man of War.
One of my favourite Man of War song / videos is the one where he talks about quitting his job. He's like, I quit my job this morning, and he like, the video is amazing. He like goes to his like, I think he's like a mechanic, and he like gives his boss the finger, and he's like, put your
You've got to
fists
give
into
everyone
the
the
air.
finger. If you don't give them the finger, give some square the finger. No, he won't look again.
Oh, they're brilliant. They're brilliant. Were you there that year when they're supposed to play Hellfest and they didn't play or
No, I
something
didn't
like
go.
that?
So,
Oh, fair.
shall I tell you my Manowar story?
Please.
Well, it's not really much of a story. 1984, went to see Ghostbusters at the cinema.
Amazing.
That's a pretty good day, right? Gets better. Stopped at Our Price on the way. Got Sign and a Hammer by Manowar.
Nice.
So that
is
is
a classic album.
That is actually probably scientifically provable to be the best day ever in the history of the universe.
That is the most
Although,
1980s day.
There's another 1984 day that's as good as that.
Yeah?
Family holiday in Aberdeen. Well, actually, no, we were in Aberdeenshire, so we were out in a village. So drove into Aberdeen. Mum and stepdad dropped us off. Cinema, all 3 Star Wars films.
Very nice.
And I got 2 Minutes to Midnight, 12-inch single on the same day.
Ooh.
I mean, that's as good as life
That is
gets. When
peak
you're a kid.
childhood. I like that.
All 3 Star Wars films, because there's only 3. We're going to just pretend the rest don't exist.
And Rogue One, the best Star Wars film.
I don't know what is my. I don't know what the message. I mean, the message is a song by Grandmaster Flash, obviously.
Well, because you've been playing for like a while now. So what keeps you going? Because
Well, I'm hoping eventually I'll learn how to do it properly,
what is doing it properly?
like playing the right notes
Yeah,
at the right time. Got to have a goal.
you definitely do that. I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
Yeah, within
I'm not a guitarist. but-
parameters, you know.
That's very Star Trek of you.
I don't know. I mean, it's fun, isn't it?
It is fun,
if you
yeah.
get it right.
Even if you get it wrong, I think it's still pretty fun.
It can be. I mean, it depends. I mean, I've done a couple of gigs that were disasters.
Yeah.
So let's think. So first, was it Carnival of Souls? Was a band. So that was, it was like the first, like before we became Evil Knievel. So it was Seamus, it was Nick Knievel, and me, and this guy called Andrew, who was originally in Our Haunted Kingdom, which was Orange Goblin. So, and his brother was in. Stu was in what are they called now? Death metal band beginning with E. No, I've suddenly got a. I'll remember it in a minute and I'll kick myself. And he was like totally obsessed with the Who. Yeah, he was like a total Keith Moon fanatic. You know, long green fishtail parka, had a Premier Olympic drum kit and stuff. So we our first gig, and we're supposed to be opening, and for some reason we end up headlining.
What?
I don't know how that happened. So obviously,
First gig.
yeah, first gig. So we turn up. So Seamus manages to drink a lot.
Oh no.
Nick and Andrew drank a lot and smoked a lot.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was one of those ones. And then Nick worked in a guitar shop and had a pink Charvel. And something went wrong, so he basically just spent the whole set with the guitar on the floor, feeding back,
Oh no!
God.
That's so stressful.
throwing Elvis shapes,
Oh no!
just kind of like doing Elvis kung fu.
Oh my god!
But so the same drummer, so he had he was like 18 or 19 at the time, and he had a girlfriend who was 38.
Okay.
Or something. So she had a kid who was like 2 years younger than him, and it was a bit of a weird one. And they somehow got into a fight. I think she attacked him with a piece of wood, so he choked her unconscious. I mean, it was a bit.
What
Jesus
the
Christ.
fuck?
So he was doing community service, so we couldn't rehearse on a Saturday. So like, if things not bad, he so there's a gig, and he didn't turn up to sound check, and he sort of turns up just before we're going on, and you go, oh sorry, I had to work late, but then he's showing all like, you know, Luca Grandi and all that lot. Do you know Luca from like Ted Moore and Mugged Off and all that?
I know
No, not
Ted
Mugged
Moore,
Off. What
but-
band's he in? Well, he's in all those sort of bands.
Okay.
Astro Scream. So he's showing that he got arrested for trying to steal a car to come to the rehearsal.
Oh my god!
to the gig, but he turned up with the girl that he was doing doing community service for attacking or fighting with. And then so that we were like, okay, I think this might be then. And then we had one more gig. and someone gave him a pill. Like, he didn't know the guy, he didn't know what the pill
Oh
was. He
my
just took a pill.
God.
And it was this weird one. So we'd start a song,
Yeah.
and he'd kind of come in whatever beat he felt like doing. You know, occasionally he might be in the right tempo, and then he'd just stop halfway through, and we turn around and look at him, and he's like, "What?" I'm like, I think we need a new drummer.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, when I
That's-
say he embraced the Keith Moon lifestyle,
Yeah.
I mean, it was like he used to have a plunger bong that he'd made himself out of like 3 litre Coke
A
bottles.
plunger bong.
Yeah, so it was like so basically, it was like 2 plastic bottles that he'd cut up. It had some water, and he would fill it with smoke and just push it down, and it would just like
Fuck.
force
hell.
this.
Wow.
Like, he couldn't. You know, every rehearsal would start like that. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Bad gigs can be. They make good stories. They're
They
not
make good
fun.
stories,
Yeah.
but I guess at the time your like
Yeah.
insides are just being crunched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How quick did you get bored of that?
It's not fun, is it? It's like the thing is, you want to be good-ish.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect, but if the drummer's not playing the same song, that could be problematic, to say the least.
It is like having a dream where you're naked at school.
It is, yeah.
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 Everyone's just silently remembering times when that's happened.
Yeah, I was legit trying to think of.
It's like that. Yeah, the school exam, and you haven't studied or whatever,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the
Oh,
big one
it's
for me.
such
I
a
have that
horrible
all the time.
feeling. Yeah.
which is essentially the Boris Premiership. You know, that's how he's leading the country.
For real.
He has turned up, hasn't studied.
Even though he went to Eton. Can you imagine? What are they teaching them? Should we go on to this card here?
I think what they teach them is kind of
Cocaine?
confidence.
That too. The Tower. Oh.
Black Tower.
This is the card
That's right.
that generally represents the kind of relationship you have with your inner self and your outer self. Because the tower is a building with no door. Are you trapped inside your own tower? Or, you know, it's a very phallic object as well. It's a big tower on a big hill. It's like mounds and phalluses and whatever. So there's that element too.
Of course it is.
Naturally, yes.
The tower.
How does that make you feel?
Snugly.
So you've got a rather comfortable inner mind then? No?
Hey. I'm too young to know. I'm not even 90
You
yet.
haven't reached sagedom.
No.
That tends to stump people, that card. That is the psychological card.
Yeah. See, I think Tower, I think the song by Angel.
Okay.
Do you know that song?
I don't.
So good.
I just think of Angel from Buffy when people say Angel.
Well, yeah, you would.
I would. I am truly a child of the 90s, yeah.
I was thinking Tower Records.
Oh, nice.
Used to
On
love shopping
topic.
there before
Yeah.
it became the Virgin.
Well, the Tower, the one, it had some good people working there because they had some amazing stuff. I mean, I picked up, like, back in the day, picked up a load of Vitus stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of my Vitus vinyl came from there back, 1990 time. The Obsessed first album
Yeah.
got there. Saw Cathedral. Actually, the first time I spoke to Lee Dorian was there.
Oh, no way.
Cathedral played there, did an in-store gig there.
Yeah.
And I'd sort of seen him around, obviously, at gigs and stuff. And that was the first time I went up and spoke to him because I'd sent rehearsal tapes of Mourn to Joss Oborn, and he sent them to Lee because Lee was sort of talking about signing the well before Electric Wizard. I mean, when it was like Lord of Putrefaction, even though they were talking about doing stuff.
Yeah. It was just cool. It just had that old school vibe.
Yeah.
About it. Even when it was still about in like the early mid 2000s, I
Yeah.
still found some good stuff there.
Loads of good magazines. They'd have loads of import graffiti magazines
Yeah.
and hip hop magazines. You'd get loads of all kinds of crazy stuff in there. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, there were so many great record shops in London. It's kind of
Yeah. Berwick Street was always the place for me. I think
Is that Sister Ray?
it had Sister Ray. I can't remember. It was called something else before
well, you had
Sister Ray.
Sister Ray was there, but it was a different Selector Disc,
Yeah, Selector Disc.
and you had a couple of second-hand shops there.
Yeah.
But you had the best, of course, was Shades in St Anne's Court. That was the one.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just the mythical place because as a kid, you'd always see the Shades advert in Kerrang.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, Shades was where Metal Forces came from, the magazine. I don't know if you know that one. that was the one. But I think they're huge. Because Music of the Nations was round the corner, and
do you know Julie Ware?
I know. Yeah, I do know Julie. Yeah, she put. She did that record label Visible Noise, didn't she? And so she did that, and it was all like kind of like a lot of new metal bands and stuff like that. And then she put Evil Knievel.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, because she knew Seamus really well.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was that a weird thing. There was a couple of, we were very out of place on that one, but it was great. We did a 2-track demo as Evil Knievel, and one song was that, and another was on the Organ compilations. You remember that? So Organ.
Is it Orgone? Orgone?
No, Organ. The
Okay.
Organ. There's a guy called Sean, who's probably still around, because he did this thing called The Organ, and it was like, he'd do like some thrash and hardcore stuff, but a lot of the kind of slightly more left field rock bands.
Cool.
He was really into stuff like the Cardiacs. He was really into the kind of sort of psychedelic stuff, like really into the bands that had a bit of a Hawkwind feel to them or whatever. So he did all kinds of stuff, and he put us on that.
That is sick.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was always around promoting stuff. I haven't seen him for years, but I'm sure he's still around somewhere doing stuff.
Do you know what blew my mind about Hawkwind? The fact that what's his name? Is it Matthew Wright from The Right Stuff? Was the singer of
he
Hawkwind?
was a huge fan. He was like a fanatical fan, and I mean, Hawkwind's a band I grew up with, so
Yeah. My dad's favorite album was Quark, Strangeness and Charms.
Well, I got Spirit of the Age tattooed there.
Oh, amazing!
So
That was my
cool.
brother's favourite song, so I got that tattooed there.
It's a great track.
Yeah, Hawkwind was right. Like when I first sort of saw Maiden on Tiswas, it was like went to the library, discovered you could get tapes out as well as books.
Yeah.
And it was like Saxon, Thin Lizzy, Gillan, Hawkwind. It was like and Michael Schenker groups. It was like, what rock and metal stuff have you got? And I got those, and so that was a big thing that shaped my taste.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You get those records that really kind of shape, that, and then like Hell Comes to Your House. So Music for Nations did a compilation called Hell on Earth, which I didn't get, but then they did one called Hell Comes to Your House, and it was just like Metallica, Anthrax, Exciter, The Rods, Loudness. It was like, that's still sort of, that's still where I'm at today, I guess.
Did you ever get into Dark Angel much? They were always one of my favourite
So good.
thrash bands.
I mean, yeah, I saw them. That was another really important gig because I saw them with Nuclear Assault.
Oh, I love Nuclear Assault as well. For Dan, is it Dan Leica was in them?
Dan Leica, yeah,
Brutal Truth?
yeah, little, yeah. So you got Dan, Little, yeah. I mean, I was a massive Nuclear Assault. I saw Nuclear Assault supporting Slayer and was absolutely blown away.
Amazing.
And then, not the next time they came over, but the time after that, they played Hammersmith again and it was Dark Angel and Candlemass.
What a bill.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jesus.
Yes, I love Dark Angels. I mean, I still listen to those records all the time. But that was my kind of exposure to doom metal, I guess, was Candlemass.
No way. Amazing.
Yeah. And especially because they put the gig out on VHS.
Yeah.
So Nuclear Assault set, and then you've got Candlemass, Dark Angel, and DAM on the other one. So I had those and watched them a million times.
Yeah. It's they played it blinded. They I don't know if they reformed, but they played at Bloodstock in 2015.
Yeah.
And it was actually really good.
Yeah. I mean, I saw them a few times. That Marquee shows on YouTube, 91, and that was Dave Ingham.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. But,
great band. I love Dark Angel.
Yeah. Dave Ingham also filmed my first ever gig.
No way.
Same guy. Yeah. First gig with Decomposed. It was 91, and we supported Cancer.
Oh yeah.
It was Cancer. A band called Impaler.
Yeah.
Another killer death metal band. A band called Pulp Grind, who I can't remember much about, other than the fact that the drummer was using a marching snare, so it was like that deep.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he filmed that, so you can actually see my first ever gigs on YouTube if you're that bored.
That is so cool. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we do another card, or do you just want to
Go for it.
talk about Dark Angel?
We can do
today?
both.
1 do you want?
What do you want? Dark Angel.
The sun.
The sun.
The sun. That
Don't
is
write the sun.
inverted. However.
Don't read the sun.
You don't read. Well, I'm very glad. I don't think you'd be here
Yeah.
if you did. We would have invited you. I mean, it's winter. It's
Yeah.
cold as balls. It's a cold.
It's not
drizzly
that
country.
cold though. It's kind of coldish. I mean, we're not that cold here generally. Britain doesn't get cold in the or south.
I get
south
cold.
doesn't.
She's little though.
Well, yeah, I know.
I get really cold.
Have you been to a cold country before?
I don't want to go.
I went to Finland once.
That looks cold.
In winter. We got there and it had just warmed up. It was only -9.
Fuck that. I would literally die. I get cold in the summer.
There was snow sort of that deep everywhere.
No.
But like, where they cleared the roads, they just these piles of snow that were like the size of houses.
Wow. Was that to play shows? That you
Oh,
went?
well, I went with Orange Goblin. They were playing. I went with them.
Nice. Isn't there like a mad drive between like Finland and Denmark that usually bands do when they tour that region?
Possibly. I haven't done
It's
that.
like a 10-hour drive or something.
Whenever I've been to the Scandinavia, it's usually just been sort of like for a couple of days, I think.
Cool.
You know, sort of. Although we did with Age of Taurus, we played place. Was it Dovre, Donbass? So it was a festival called Til Dovrefella.
That's a cool name.
I don't know how you pronounce it. Not like that, I suspect. It's like that, but more Norwegian.
More Norwegian.
And that was a beautiful place. It was up in the mountains.
Oh, wow.
Wooden chalet kind of venue. With like a load of black metal bands and stuff.
Is that near Bergen, or was it? Or...
It's in the middle. It's like we drove like through mountains and fjords to the middle of the mountains. It's beautiful there. Yeah, mostly sort of black metal and death metal bands, and then us. Yeah. We had Rich couldn't make it, so we had Syndra from Obliteration and Necromantium playing bass.
That is so cool. Everyone I've talked to who's gone to Norway says it's one of the most beautiful places.
It's
I've ever
lovely.
been.
It's expensive.
Hell yeah. The beer's like what, 12 quid?
I mean, I don't drink, so but, it was like 2-3 quid a can of Coke in the shops, and it was like, but standard living's really high. That's why, because
They pay you well there, right?
yeah, they pay you.
They do. If you go to prison, you're fine.
Yeah.
Shall we do the very bottom card? That is the thing that drives you forward from your past, putting you into the future. Union. Oh, that's a really wholesome one, actually.
Yeah. That's me, wholesome.
That's you.
That's how I roll.
Wholesome. Yeah, it's like connection between people, which is exactly the kind of thing that, you're always at shows, you're playing in bands, you know a hell of a lot of people
I
as
know
well.
a few people.
You know one or two.
I know at least 7 people.
That's more than me. Yeah. I know literally everyone in this room, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, Union. That's a really cool driving force. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. I'm kind of also, I don't know. I know a lot of people, but I'm also kind of solitary sort of sometimes.
In the tower.
In a tower, yeah. I'd love a tower.
Towers are nice.
Especially if you had like a telescoped,
Villa Velo, doesn't he live in a tower?
Don't know.
I have
should
read that
do.
in Kerrang.
He needs to.
So he should.
I mean, that's where he should be. I mean, Paul Chain apparently used to live in a castle.
Ooh, that must be cold.
In Italy, so not that cold.
That's all right.
But he also drove a tank, apparently. I don't know if that's true, but
They're cheap. They're like 10 grand.
what a tank? You've looked into it.
I have
haven't you?
looked into it. Yeah.
Do you have a favourite tank for?
I'm not really a tank person.
No, you're more of like a skidoo, like a snowmobile.
Nuclear submarine,
Nuclear
perhaps.
submarine.
Yeah.
Something with lasers.
Well, yeah, something with tricorders.
A Morris Minor person.
Yeah, that's me. Classy.
All that.
Machine gun on the back.
I mean, me just saying this will get me put on a terror watch list, but yes.
That's why I said it.
Thank you.
He's already on one.
Already. It's my Star Trek box set. Do you reckon the guy from Manowar has Star Trek box?
Almost certainly.
Oh, Malone.
Oh, Carl Logan, yeah.
Oh dear.
That
was unfortunate.
Yeah. Although the general rule with Manowar is roster boss or no metal at all.
He played Bloodstock, I think,
Yeah.
recently as well. It was really good
I
set.
saw him at the Underworld and it was just incredible. It was just like perfect. Like if you watch that video, if you've seen the video of the roster boss doing the Manowar set at Keep It True.
No, but I've heard it. No.
Oh, it's majestic. It's like no nonsense bass solos.
Yeah.
No pulling the bass strings off.
Oh my
just
god!
riff after riff, song after song.
Yeah.
Did you see them at Birmingham when they came back to
No,
the UK?
I did see him. No, I did see him at the Brixton Academy.
I was there. It wasn't very good.
It wasn't really full either. Okay?
Yeah.
That thing where you go, right, we need this much money, we need a venue this size. It's like, it'd be better to play a venue that you fill.
They were amazing at Birmingham.
Yeah, I heard that.
They were really, really good. And then they were just awful. And then the recent videos I've seen, What's His Face is doing some pretty awkward rants about women.
Joey
and-
DeMeo.
Yeah.
So I've got
So
really,
unsurprisingly.
I've got a friend called Dawn that I've known since I was a teenager. I say, I mean, I don't see her very often because she lives in America now. But she knew them all really well. She did a lot of work for Rossabot, and she's a huge Manowar fan. But she says yes, Joey may have some less than
Savoury views.
he's not quite embraced the union between people.
Yeah.
On an intellectual level, shall we say?
I gathered that from
Yeah.
what he was saying. I used to be a massive fan, and then after those kind of things came out, after, like I'm
You have
a
to
little
just
bit colder
pretend
on
it
them
doesn't.
now. Yeah.
Although I had amazing Will told me an amazing story that he got from Martin Hooker. So when sort of Hail to England time, so Music for Nations signed them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they were on Liberty Records, and then a couple of them Virgin 10 Records. But Martin Hooker signed them for Hail to England on Music for Nations, and they went out to dinner. Apparently Joey DeMeo sort of turned around and said, "Congratulations for signing on the most important band in rock and roll."
Nice.
Amazing.
What a confident man.
But it gets better because Martin Hooker apparently is like, well, I
Who?
love you. No, Martin Hooker was the guy.
No, I
from
meant
Music-
I thought Martin Hooker was like, who's that then?
Yeah. But then he says, well, I love you guys, but Rolling Stones maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Jesus
And apparently Joe
Christ.
DeMeo sort of stood up, knocked his chair over, and says, "You take that back. I'm not saying that."
No, are you
No way.
And then, like the rest of the band, apparently a bit like that. And then, eventually, like once everyone else as a starter started arriving, he kind of quietly picked a chair and said, "Can you order?"
Oh my
That is
god.
amazing.
I mean,
Was it Slayer that feuded with Manowar?
Twisted Sister did, but I'm sure other bands.
feuded
have.
with Slayer feuded with Venom.
Merciful
They had beef
Fate.
with Kronos, I think.
Yeah, Merciful Fate had a problem, didn't they? Because they came over to support Manowar and lasted one gig.
No.
Really?
And it was just like, they came over, they're not allowed to even set up until like half an hour before they're, just that kind of stuff where bands stitch up the other band sort of thing. And so they were like, we're not doing this.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of negative reviews of their professional conduct. let's
Yeah.
say. Yeah, which is a shame because I love the music.
Have you ever heard the Dave Rock Feinstein song, the single from '78, Midnight Lady? Oh, it's amazing because it's the Rods. So Cole, Dave Rock Feinstein, Dio's cousin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So band the Rods, which was like Cole Kennedy. And before they became the Rods, they did a single under his name, and it's basically the Rods, but it's the bass player is Joey DeMeo.
Whoa.
It's amazing.
That is wild.
And it's really sort of high energy, kind of late 70s metal rock sort of thing. It's amazing.
He is a fab bassist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With his piccolo bass.
And his very loosely tied strings that he rips
That's
off.
off, yeah. I mean, we've all done that.
Yes. Peter Steele does it, but it's impressive when he does
Peter
it.
Steele's was 75 foot tall.
Oh, in more ways than one.
Yeah, so apparently the ladies liked him. I don't know why.
Can't think why.
It's a mystery.
There's no magazine evidence. So here's the last card. This is your driving forward force. Of your future.
Uh-oh.
What is it? It is death, isn't it?
The puzzle.
Oh.
I've never seen that card before.
What a mysterious spread you have. This is a good
That's
one.
me. I'm all about the mystery.
Yeah, international man of mystery.
Mystery to me is something I
Unions.
can't see, but I see you very well,
Nice.
Dio. I wrote
Smooth.
that.
Smooth. Yeah, that's a good one. There's two doors,
Yeah.
and you don't know which one to go through.
Oh, this is the you have to.
This is very labyrinth.
Yeah, exactly. You put the.
Do you have choices as such before you? Do you have to make choices like that sometimes?
I should probably do. I can't think off the top of my head.
Fair enough.
Usually the choice is, do I put on Killers or do I put on Peace of Mind? That's the big decision. Of course, it's always both.
At the same time, simultaneously.
I did hear a story. Seamus was living with a guy briefly. He moved in with someone who would put on 2 different Slayer albums at the same time.
No way.
And leave them playing during the day whilst he was out.
Oh my god, what?
Did you ever get synchronized Kerry King solos that would just sound like absolute dog shit?
All them sound amazing. And that's
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
doing all the time.
I'm really curious now.
I love a Kerry King solo.
So I love
A
Kerry.
dial-up modem solo. Anyway.
Although only, I don't really listen to Slayer post 1990. So
It's I really like I think
God Hates Us All.
I'd never listened to that.
That's pretty good.
That's good, yeah.
I mean,
That's true.
apparently,
That's why I don't like it.
apparently there's records after Seasons of the Abyss. But people tell me that. I don't believe them.
This is like Star Wars.
It's like people who tell me like Metallica kept going after 91. I'm like,
Yeah.
madness. Things people imagine.
But it was like that. And I really don't like Metallica.
Oh, I mean, Ride the Lightning is perfection.
Is it?
Absolute perfection. It's one of the best guitar sounds of all time. Merciful Fate's amps, apparently.
You'll hate me for this. I don't like Iron Maiden either.
Well, it's your democratic right to be wrong.
I probably am. I don't know. I never got either Metallica or Maiden. Which are like I know Maiden's your staple. Yeah.
Well, Maiden is life.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm dead.
Well, there you go. you said it.
Do you think Puppets is overrated or?
No, it's a great record. It doesn't sound as good because they downgraded the amps.
Yeah.
I mean, as a nerd, like Ride the Lightning, it's JMP 2203s, push with a tube screamer. Then they start moving to the sort of Mesa Boogie stuff, and it doesn't have quite the same crunch.
Yeah, Ride the Lightning's just that much.
It's just
heavier.
Yeah. I mean, Master Puppets, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of bit, you go, oh, I know where that is from. Like, I love Orion, but everyone goes, oh, it's amazing, it's amazing. But yeah, it's good, but it is Wishbone Ash.
I love Wishbone.
Handy by Wishbone Ash. Listen to that.
I'll have to check that out.
I think we were listening to it and I said.
Yeah.
I remember this
Well, there's
now.
also a Wishbone Ash song that sounds like Ghost. And it sounds like the blueprint for Ghost. Is it The King Will Come?
I
That's
mean,
from
Argus
Argus.
is.
So many bands were influenced
I mean,
by
Argus. Yeah, Maiden. I'm totally.
Carcass.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Argus is one of. It's just perfect in every way, from the
It is
artwork to
stunning,
the
yeah.
production to the songs,
It is
the playing, the guitar tones on it,
It's beautiful.
and you look at Martin Birch. There you go. That's your guarantee of quality. He engineered it, so you just look at
What
Martin.
else
Birch.
did he do?
Has he done the Atomic Rooster?
He probably did. He did like Maiden, most of the Maiden
Oh,
stuff.
okay. Oh, really?
Sabbath, Rainbow, Deep Purple,
Okay, that makes
Fleetwood
sense.
Mac,
Yeah.
Toad.
Wow.
His discography is just the best of all time. Good White Snake stuff. Not the hair metal stuff, but he did the early '80s White Snake, which is amazing.
It is so good.
Yeah.
It is.
So yeah, he just did so much good stuff. So that's your guarantee of quality, Martin Birch.
What is your record with the best? I'd say like guitar tone for you. Do you have one that you're like when you're recording like I want this? I want it to be like this record.
Yeah, I mean rhythm tone is Trouble. It's either Psalm 9 or the fourth album.
Okay.
So both Trouble self-titled albums, as it were. Very much the kind of benchmark. Ride the Lightning. Like AC/DC, like particularly early AC/DC, Power Ridge and High Voltage era, where it's just huge sounding, not very distorted, just big.
Yeah.
Hit-
Malcolm, right?
I mean, it's that mixture. It's Malcolm's really clean rhythm tone because it's bass. It's it's super basses a lot of it. It's like it's not very distorted at all. It's pretty clean. And then Angus's is brighter and slightly more distorted, and together it just sounds so good. On especially the kind of stuff produced by the brother and band. It's just there's a couple, first Sabbath album. A lot of the free stuff that Paul Kossoff played, again, really clean but just huge. Argus was just...
That's perfect, yeah.
It's just incredible.
What about bass tone?
Ooh.
Because I feel like that's some Grand Funk Railroad.
Grand Funk Railroad.
Yeah.
Is a massive one. James Jameson on a lot of the early Motown stuff is just incredible. And obviously Donald Duck Dunn as well. Steve Harris is a very, like, early Maiden stuff. It's a very clean, sort of quite thin, not fit. It's quite top endy, isn't it?
He uses quite a lot of chords when he plays bass.
Yeah, but it's weird because he uses flat wound strings rather than round wound. And he's got like weird sort of custom built preamps that are basically late 70s high watt transistor bass head.
Yeah.
That he kind of started using about 1980, and it's just run into power amps. But yeah, someone built him these kind of custom made versions of the high watt, and he's now got his own pedal. So, but yeah, actually, I mean, who else is good? Back from Budgie had an amazing sound. Just,
Budgie's great.
Yeah, and that was was a band I discovered quite young, so that was great bass sound. And there's a couple of, there's probably a few other bass sounds. Just trying to think. I mean, Lemmy is for a particular thing. But that's an interesting one. I was watching you just YouTube starts, you leave it running. I ended up watching the guy Cameron, whatever his name is, that produced a lot of the later stuff.
Yeah.
And what he said, he ended up, because obviously it's a Marshall super bass, so it's a 100-watt head and it's just cranked up. But he said he would record it for an Ampeg as well, from Circuit. Lemmy hated it, but he put it on. But he said because Lemmy's hearing, obviously, 50 years of cranked Marshalls, he'd lost so much thing that he would think things sounded really bassy. Yeah. Because he had no top end. Yeah. So he used the Ampeg to put the low end in that Lemmy didn't put in himself.
Oh my god. Wow.
That's interesting. As people get older, so you get these sounds change and they become more trebly. I always wonder why, like Trouble, why, Manic Frustration and Plastic Greenhead sound so much more trebly than the albums before, and I wonder if that's why. Maybe Rick Rubin or whatever was going. We need more high end.
I love We Are Motorhead. That album rock.
Yeah, first album I bought was On Parole. So the first single I bought was Gill, and the first album was Motorhead On Parole. So that's a very 70s sounding record as well. So that kind of really sort of set my taste, I guess. And it's quite a weird sounding record, and it's quite sort of, I don't know, it's got a weird downbeat feel to it, hasn't it?
Strange, right? I think for as lauded as they are, I still think Lemmy doesn't get enough credit for kind of being like the progenitor of harsh vocals.
Oh, he was a huge, and it's weird. I think, if you were to ask all the people that matter, if you go and ask Metallica, and if you ask Discharge, and you ask, any classic thrash band, death metal band, any of the old, a lot of the hardcore guys, they would tell you that,
Yeah.
But it's weird. I think some people don't get where things come from. Like you hear, like you'll see someone who's really into death metal say, "Oh, yeah, but Metallica don't matter," and it's like, but if you speak to the people that made the stuff,
they were inspired by.
If no Metallica, no Repulsion, no Napalm Death, no Dark Throne, those bands all were influenced by it, and took a lot, because back then it was like, this is the heavy thing, most of the classic thrash bands were inspired by Metallica, the death metal bands. I know that Scott Carlson was a huge fan of Cliff Burton, he told me as well, I went to see him, I made sure I was standing in front of Cliff, Lee's often talked about hitchhiking down to London to see Metallica at the 100 Club, it's, for a lot of these people, it was a big thing, Motorhead were a huge part of everything, but also a band that kind of crossed over in some ways, like back then. I think the reason it's not that they don't get the credit. I think it's often with these bands, it's like management and stuff like that, and stuff in the background that makes a difference.
Yeah.
You know, because Motorhead were a household name because they were on the Young Ones. They were on Tiz was. You know, I remember watching some kind of polite comedy in the early 80s, Shelley. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
And there's an episode where it's weird. This is stuck in my head for almost 40 years later. And there's an episode where they're all stuck on a train and there's a pregnant woman. So they're like, "Oh, we need to do something to calm down." And they put some headphones on the babies, and they go, "Don't." Oh, it's Motorhead, so don't blame me if he's worn a headband. And I don't know why that's just stuck with me for decades. But you know, but they were a household name. But you know, stuff happens. You know, lineups change. But yeah, I think record labels, like they never had the record label support. So when you look at Metallica, you know, they had, but also management is a big part of it. So you know, Metallica were onto Elektra and had the big, you know, the Q Prime. Maiden had Rod Smallwood and EMI.
Yeah.
And Motorhead were on like, you know, bronze to GWR, whatever. You know, so it was, they didn't quite have that.
Yeah.
Because very often you think, why are they not this big? It's like, you know, why are Judas Priest not as big as Maiden and Sabbath now? Because they all had that thing. They all went through the metal doldrums. Why are they not as big? And then, well, maybe it's the management.
Yeah.
You know, because so I've heard stuff about, you know, you think, oh, that's why.
Because I would argue that's the big three, right? Maiden, Priest, and Sabbath.
Well, Sabbath started metal.
Anyway. Yeah.
Sabbath started metal.
Yeah.
Kind of Priest totally defined what it would be. Because they brought their kind of Queen and Wishbone Ash influence, but they were aesthetic, but also the Wishbone Ash kind of twin guitars, the Queen harmonies. Because if you listen to the first Priest album, you can hear Queen on some parts of it.
Yeah,
Queen.
totally.
So, and then with the look, they defined it, and then Maiden kind of, you know, took it and made it worldwide. You know, those are the three bands. You know, there's obviously there's lots of other great bands, but those are the kind of the trinity of bands. That, you know, how did metal develop? It's kind of those three, you know. And you know, very often it's like, but you know, if you went back to 1980, like you speak to someone who's you know, who's going to be the big band for the new wave of British heavy metal? It's going to be Diamond Head.
Yeah.
And then management
and then you had like Coven releasing like the year, what was it, year before the first Sabbath album?
Kind of, yeah, but
like,
when you listen to it, it's not
it's
not heavy. It's got elements.
Heavy.
It's in the same way. It's heavy. It's great, but it's not. It is a '60s psych record. Whatever. It's
unusual in that it's satanic.
Yeah. But there was a lot of people into that kind of stuff at the time. You know, there were lots of satanic and witch magazines.
It's like the Panic. Well, it's not quite the Panic era, I guess.
But it was a big thing. But it, you know, it wasn't. The song Black Sabbath is like a, you know, it's a moment in the same, you know, so that Coven record's great, but it's a 60s record and it sounds like and Sabbath is something different. There isn't something happens with that, you know, that riff kicks in, things change, you know.
Yeah.
Blue Cheer were heavy as hell, they were great, but it's not the same. It's, you know.
It's like a real like paradigm shift, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like, boom, something happens. There's a magical moment, something's happened there.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Diamond Heads because it's like, you know, you're talking about all the bands that would cite Metallica as an influence. Like Metallica wouldn't be without Diamond Head.
But they were influenced by like a lot of that stuff. Like, you know, Lars Ulrich was a collector. Like you see some of the zines, like even before they were, you know, there's that famous list. It's like, you know, the top 10 traders in the world, and he's at number 1. You know, he was the guy that had every record. You know, he was the guy that knew this stuff. You know.
So that's probably how we could call. Was it him that called Napster? And he was like, "This is going to be the."
But that comes
much later. But I'm assuming that collector knowledge helped him kind of understand what would happen.
But I think they got a lot of flack for that, and I think in hindsight they were right. Weren't
they were,
That's the thing. Like, it's looked back on now by like people in the scene, and they're like, "God, yeah, he was really." Yeah.
He was on the money.
Yeah.
But also, you know, we put tape trade, but the tape trading was often rehearsal tapes and demos and live tapes and stuff. It wasn't just full albums. It was the stuff that you traded, you know.
It was essentially a promotional material.
Like when you look at a trading list back then, a lot of it was live stuff. You know, trading full albums wasn't the same thing. It was about demos and live things more than just doing records. So everyone gives Lars stick, but there is a reason why Metallica are the biggest selling heavy metal band of all time. Lars, he knows the music. He drives it. He writes a lot of it. He shapes it, and everyone gives him stick. But he's done something right.
I don't like them, but I don't hate.
Yeah,
them.
I've never met the man, but actually, I've not met him. I've been sort of that close to him when he was talking to someone else.
He walked past me once, and I was like, "Oh, that's the man from Metallica." Yeah. That's the only Metallica story I have.
The only person from Metallica who's spoken to me is Kirk Hammett.
Someone said I looked like Kirk Hammett once.
I've often thought that. he no lie, he said cool t-shirt to me once.
That is really cool. What t-shirt were you wearing?
Okay, so it was heavy metal barn dance. It came from a Mithra box set, Mithra and Studio Band, but they did a gig. It was like Motorhead, Girls' School, Angel Witch festival lineup t-shirt.
Wow, that's so cool.
We were watching Ghost of all bands.
No way.
Yeah,
that
it was
sick.
Orange Goblin were playing Sonisphere and Ghost were there.
I was there. So
But
I went
not-
to every one. Is it not England?
No,
Oh, is it Poland?
Madrid.
Madrid. Is there
Yeah.
only like one in Madrid, or?
I don't know, but it was hot.
I bet. I bet. Yeah. Sonosphere was great.
But it was really interesting backstage because have you seen the Metallica backstage setup?
No.
We didn't see it.
Don't they
but
have like a whole like Oasis area or something?
Put it this way, like when they came on, they started clearing up the thing, and it was like 10 minutes of like, I don't know, they filled up at least one articulated lorry just with flight cases from the dressing room.
Good lord.
Wow.
Yeah, they had like a full band set up. You could hear them playing.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was huge.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I would love to have a dressing room with that much clothing in it.
That much clothing.
Yeah, like an articulated lorry's worth of potential outfits.
I don't know if it was all outfits. I think
I'm imagining it's outfits. It's just like some
they had a whole
trainers
band set up.
and
And, yeah,
I know that's what you really mean, but inside my head, I'm just imagining like a Kim
Like-
Kardashian closet.
like 20 different patch jackets because
Yeah.
James had the patch jackets in the made all up with all the logo. It's interesting because what film was that in? What was the film they made? Not Some Kind of Monster, the one that no one's seen.
I wouldn't know that.
Oh, is this the more recent one?
Yeah,
Or-
about 10
yeah.
years ago or something. Because he's wearing that jacket, they had to get clearance for all the patches. Like each band had to clear the patches.
No.
Up. Yeah,
Imagine that. Did anyone say no?
I don't know. I mean, you wouldn't, would you? Because
It'd be funny
I
if
mean,
someone did.
Yeah, you'd be foolish. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's another thing. Now, how many bands got a second chance? Diamond Head.
Yeah.
Like, how much money have they made by selling, by Metallica covering them?
I discovered them through
Through the
Metallica.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, no one knows what it is.
Yeah, I'd have never been able to remember that.
Yeah, it's not very memorable. It's just that sounds.
Well,
like...
it doesn't need to be because no one's seen it, so it doesn't matter if you remember it.
True. Maybe we have all seen it and we don't know.
Yeah. That 5 times he's just gone. He's like,
It's like a Men in Black moment at the end where they just like wipe your memory.
or it's just like modern pop music where you've forgotten it whilst you're still listening to it.
Yeah.
I mean, after I watched Lords of Chaos, that was immediately.
I've not seen that. Is it?
I don't recommend
Do
it.
you know what? It's an interesting one because I think if you watch it just as a film on its own, then apparently it's a lot more enjoyable and entertaining. Problem with a lot of black metal fans is that they're very easily triggered.
They're snowflakes, you might say. I'm joking.
But it's not that great. It really wasn't.
It's very cringy.
I kind of want to watch. I read the book, which is a weird one as well.
Yeah.
The book. Have you read the book?
I've not read the book. I made it halfway. I made half an hour into the film, and then
Yeah.
I had to stop.
So the book is kind of weird in that I think they're over intellectualizing it. So what you end up with is like 3 million pages just explaining the roots of the word Varg, and it's like,
Oh no!
but as in some sort of kind of European sort of archetype of, and it's like, and you're like, Lord of the Rings. It's all from Lord of the Rings.
So read another book. As
They
much as
were
I love that book.
Kids. These are all children. They're all like
Yeah.
15 at the time. They've read Lord of the Rings and have Venom, and then the slightly older guys got them into this stuff. All these bands are using Lord of the Rings stuff, and then they're trying to over intellectualize it, and
Black metal fans never over intellectualize anything.
but it's that again, it's that weird thing. It's like a lot of this extreme metal was made by kids.
Yeah.
You know.
And in the film, that's actually reflected really
Yeah.
well, because they are literally just like kind of embarrassing teenagers.
Yeah, you know, enslaved were like so young that their parents had to sign a record contract for them.
That's
apparently.
adorable.
You know, Carcass started when they're 15. You know,
Yeah.
they're 15 when they do that. You know, Lee Doran was like 19 by the time he'd left Napalm Death. You know,
It's wild.
so that, you know, Metallica when they started were like, you know, underage drinkers. You know, it's a lot of this stuff is done by. Free were like 19 at their peak, weren't they? You know, a lot of amazing music's done by people who are really young.
Yeah.
So I think Ishan from Emperor was only like maybe 16, 17 when they done the first album as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they kind of had their addresses written on the inside of their guitar straps. So.
So
True
in by
story,
their mums,
really.
No way.
True story.
That's so
So you
cute.
mentioned playing with Emperor, so
Yeah.
what was that like?
Oh, that was interesting. I mean, it was.
Was it Faust era Emperor? Or?
Yes, he was on the run. Apparently,
Oh.
he'd killed someone.
He had for being gay.
Is that? I don't. I mean,
That's the reason he
well,
gave.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, when someone dislikes gay people that much, I'm always like, I wonder why. So it was like Cradle of Filth and Emperor tour, and we're like a doom metal band, so we turn up with a massive gold crucifix that we were going to put the right way up.
That's really funny. I love that.
Will's dad had got it from somewhere, from some play or something. And Danny Filth smashed across
No.
backstage apparently, and then tried to tell us that the Emperor guys had got it.
That's so cheeky.
And but it was interesting. So Will's flatmate at the time was Gian Perez, who would soon join Solstice,
Okay.
and then ended up in Cradle of Filth.
Oh.
But he was really into Viking battle reenactment. So we were like, things could get a bit nasty here. So we had one of his swords in one of our guitar cases. And a
so
baseball bat. But they were like, you know, they were kind of young kids.
Yeah.
They had a pig's head backstage,
Oh,
but they had it in
God.
a plastic bag and they couldn't bear to touch it.
It smells
and
really bad.
It does, but they had it, and then when they went on stage,
That's so funny. My God.
But, you know, it was one of those gigs, there wasn't that many people there. It was, you know, it was probably 60, 70 people or whatever, you know. There was people there, but, you know, it wasn't massive town. But we thought they weren't very underground because they'd done that singles review in Kerrang and they slagged off Pentagram, so we were like, freaking posers. You're
It's
not
very
underground,
bold.
you're slagging off Pentagram.
Yeah. I slag them off now, but back in the day they were.
Pentagram.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this
I
is
slag Bobby off, but not Pentagram.
This is before, you know.
All that came out.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. Although I did sort of hear stories around that time, like Lee
Really?
Dorian's kind of, not about that, but Lee Dorian sort of, you know, Cathedral played with Pentagram in the early 90s, didn't they? So
I heard that Kiss wanted to scope them out to go on tour,
There's
and they
this-
were going to come to the rehearsals, but then two of them didn't turn up.
because they were at work. Yeah, have you not seen the film?
I have. Last
mean,
Days
that's-
Here. It's
it's-
so depressing.
It's harrowing.
It's hard work, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's really depressing. And then, like, that was just before he beat his mum up as well.
Which is, can we call it a red flag?
I think at that point, the flag is fully...
He definitely had Star Trek box sets.
God damn it.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a weird one. It's somebody, you know, you listen to their music for decades. You
It's
know?
really good music.
Yeah.
It's really good music, yeah.
And there's always that question, where do you draw the line, you know?
That is definitely one of those bands where it's
Yeah.
really difficult.
It's like, do you listen to Burzum or not?
Oh, I don't listen to Burzum.
I mean, I like Burzum's music.
Really? I don't believe anyone when they say that.
No, because I don't like slick black metal. Black metal should be lo-fi. I don't want to hear.
I don't like
if I
music
can
that's
work,
like that.
I do. Like,
Fair
because I
enough.
grew up with death metal, and death metal was all about. Well, no, that's the thing. When it became too brutal, it lost interest.
Interesting.
Like 92, 93, and everything's like brutal. It's like
I like the brutality. I don't.
I don't. That's
I don't like it when it's sloppy.
because I want to hear proper death metal. I don't want to hear like brutal. I want to
I want to
hear.
hear proper death metal too.
I want to hear. You know, I want to hear like, you know, Mastered 1985. That's death metal.
Right.
You know, stuff like that. You know, where it's savage but not. You know. a lot of the early death metal is just like all out. You listen to like Poison from Illinois rather than the German Poison, and that that's just super savage, kind of rehearsal tape stuff. And that's what a lot of the black metal thing is about, that death metal aesthetic, where a lot of death metal was just boombox in the corner of the rehearsal room, and a lot of important death metal came out like that.
Yeah,
I respect that, but I don't listen to it.
I don't listen to death metal that gets too slick and clean and stuff.
Okay. It's interesting because you love classical music,
I
think that's where death metal is most influenced by classical.
Sometimes, it's a weird. Death metal is that thing. It's that mixture of stuff. It's that mixture of Motorhead and Venom and Discharge and Black Flag. It's that thing of mixing it all in, like someone who likes Motorhead and Black Flag and Maiden, and they mix it all in, and the different bands had different sounds. So like Death, they were he was
really into Atheist.
Yeah, later on, but his stuff that's shaping it is classic metal stuff. Like he liked Anvil and Maiden, and he liked stuff like Sortilege, and when you see Death, they're wearing these amazing t-shirts like Satan's Jokers and all this stuff. They got these incredible obscure metal shirts. And then so other stuff that really, bands like Slaughter is really death metal. Like there's really kind of a lot of dirty punk on there.
What about Coroner? I love
Coroner, but they're kind of. Well, it's Celtic Frost, isn't it? It's like they were Celtic Frost roadies, and you can hear the Celtic Frost sound,
totally.
But with a kind of tech metal.
That's.
Influence.
I think it's the more technical side I prefer. Yeah,
I like some tech metal stuff. Like I do like so Anacrusis and Coroner and stuff like that. First Atheist album, but when it gets too tech, it loses the power.
I see what you mean, because a lot of time there's like a lack of passion or soul.
Yeah, I really I'll go back to Slaughter and Repulsion and Devastation, from Illinois rather than Texas, and bands like that. And there's just there's a power to it. Do you like Syndrome?
Don't know.
There you go. That's what you need to hear. Syndrome.
All right, I've got some homework.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you want technical death metal, it is best.
That's what the Reverend prescribes.
Yeah, prescribe. You could listen. Confessor obviously were a band that were
Don't like Confessor.
I love Confessor.
I don't like them. I
can't
can't listen to the vocals.
They're the only tech doom band.
I can't listen to them. I'm sorry.
Right, you're gonna have to sit in a corner and think about what you said.
They're so sick.
Yeah.
No one appreciates them. They're so good.
There's a reason.
Do love Confessor.
The instrumentation is great. I just can't do the vocals.
No, super heavy riffs, like bringing the treble riffing with the technical kind of almost like what? Do you like Watchtower? Is that
Don't
local?
know. I thought it was a Stephen King novel. I'm joking.
Angels on deck, right?
Yeah. But there's a whole kind of world of 80s. Obviously stuff like Warlord was technical, but it was epic, and they had the playing. There's loads of stuff, amazing stuff out there.
Is that band? That band Mekong Delta?
Yeah, I've got one record of theirs.
Yeah,
and I've got, for some reason, I've got a picture disc and a normal copy of it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there was a whole kind of technical metal thing in the 80s which I like, but when it becomes too polite,
I see.
High gain amps, but polite metal.
Polite metal. Interesting. I like that description. Yeah. I think that description is a good note.
Polite metal.
To slowly go up to a nice cadence and end the podcast in a nice wholesome manner. Thank you for coming. The union of Serpent Temple and Alastair Riddell has been commenced and finished. Thank you for watching and listening.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
No problem.
Cheers.
I was in the area.
Passing through? Thank you. Yeah, please feel free to like and subscribe, and goodbye.
Until next time.
Bye.